Yeah, by Steve Sloan. Okay, I'll forward you that link. Okay.
Julio. All right. Good morning, everybody. Bright and early this morning, we're gonna call this meeting to order. It is May 22nd. Not actually, it's 9:01 a.m. And we are here at the Huntsville Town Hall Council Chambers for a special city council meeting. This is our anchor location, and we are all electronically online via Zoom for participation. This is a city council meeting, and so rather than a work session, and so we will have the agenda set up that way. For roll call this morning, we do have we've got council members Hickman, Booth, and Julian Baker. I'm Mayor Wampler. Our reporter and IT director are here as well. I know Councilmember Shaw had already let us know ahead of time that she would be attending late due to her grandchild's graduation at our state school. And Councilmember Phillips should be here soon. We will announce the times when they join us. Everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will follow that moment of silence. Thank you. All right. We will start this meeting with a section for public comments. This is a time for anyone from the city or anywhere to come in and speak to city council. We do ask that we keep our comments relatively brief, around 2 minutes or so, 2 to 3 minutes max, and then keep it germane to the business of the city, something that we can actually affect change on here from city council. And when you do come forward, please state your name and your address for the record, and then we'd love to hear from you. The other item is that it is on the agenda that the comments can't be something on this agenda. That's kind of a standard community topic. I go ahead and take that away. You're welcome to come and talk to us about anything you'd like to speak about when it comes to the city, and we would be happy to hear from you and see what we can do to help. So if anyone in the room would like to come forward for public comment, this would be the time for that. Yes, sir.
My name is Scott Kerr. It's spelled Kjar. It's a Danish origin. We are the owners of the Pine View storage facility just next to the American Legion there. And we've also the owner of the property right behind American Legion. And we would like to, we're here to, and I think I sent you all during the middle of the night last night. I got home from my grandson's graduation down in Provo. We're here to, we would appreciate it if you would still allow storage use going forward, because we have plenty of people who would really continue to like to have a place. We have 20 people lined up that if we had facilities for them, and we have the big long ones that just put this boats and trailers in. And so we think it'd be a great use. We have a lot of our tenants, 70% of them are here from the valley. And the other ones who come from out of the valley spend a lot of money every time they come into the city. So we've had a cabin up in Monte Cristo now for 25 years, and we just have spent a lot of time here in Huntsville. But so in short, we think it's wisdom that you still provide for storage use down the road. Obviously with, I know they have concerns about the walking area, whatever. We're very sensitive. We've been here for the July 4th stuff and all this stuff. And so we spent a lot of years here, so we get it. So we would just implore you to continue to keep that use open as one of your permitted uses. We're not like in the middle of where people want to be living all at once. We're just right down the main drag. This is right by the fire station between all these others. But anyway, that's just all I ask for, to give us consideration. I'm happy to answer any questions that you want. So I'm done. Do you have any questions for me?
I have a quick question.
Sure.
Scott, I assume as a service, your clients do pay sales tax on the service or not? Do you know?
There's no sales tax on them, but they spend a lot of money in town. I mean, I know that whenever we come up here, we're spending like hundreds of dollars over the store, the store on the other end of the valley. So anyway, it's a income thing for you too, so.
No, understood. You currently have a storage facility on
Yes.
one of your properties. My understanding is you wanted to expand to your other.
Yeah, we want to expand on the one right back of the American Legion.
Right, so that'll, we'll get into this, I guess, in
Sure.
a separate situation, but I would imagine that that would end up having to, if it's not a conditional use of your current zone.
Yeah.
Because if it is, then there's no problem, if it isn't, then it would be something you work with our planner
Yeah,
to pursue whether a zoning change or some sort of
correct,
gradient.
correct.
Wonderful,
Yeah.
yeah.
So thank you for taking your time. I've been where you are right now, there in Centerville, so I get it. But we would love to work with you to craft and what it's worth.
Thank you.
And thank you for, I know you guys put together this whole thing for a whole new city. I admire you for what you've been able to do.
Thank you,
But thank you for letting me take some time.
absolutely.
Thank you, Scott.
Yeah.
And we'll have our planner Brian as well as somebody from city council get with you as well.
Good, thank you.
There's an ongoing conversation.
Yes.
Scott and Brian and Chad and I.
For the record, it's 9:07 and Councilmember Hillwood has joined, so we have her as well. All right, anyone else from the room for public comment? Anyone online?
No hands this time.
Okay. I'll give it 30 more seconds or so. Okay, if there's no one else for public comment, I'm gonna go ahead and close that section of the meeting. And move into the consent agenda. My understanding was there was one section for consent of documents that were put forth. There were minutes put forth by our wonderful and prodigious reporter. Has anyone had a chance to look those over? Does anyone have comments or corrections that need to be made?
I've already used it, that's nothing.
Excellent, that's exactly how that should go. You don't have to wait till the meeting to say them, you're welcome to send them right to staff. So if the comments, if anyone else for comments that didn't want to do it recording, okay, great. In that case, with it just being items of A, the minutes, this is a city council meeting, I will take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So we don't have B and C?
I did not get any documents, for the packet to send you ahead of time. I reached out, nobody sent me anything, so
I have
you have a report?
a big report. This is,
Okay.
no, never mind, this is payment, not invoices.
So I was told by Diane that I believe there are invoices sitting in Excel that need to be approved, but that she doesn't have them approved, so therefore there's no report.
For business licenses.
Councilmember Shaw did not have anything, so.
Okay.
Is that, we're good? I'll take a motion to.
I move we
the
approve
minutes,
the consent agenda that we received.
which is the minutes. Yes, is there a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
I
Perfect. Did you?
I second.
All right, it is a 4-0 vote to approve the consent agenda, which is the minutes that were included in the packet. Number 4 on today's agenda is a discussion on city organizational structure. This was added to the agenda with the request by Councilmember Hoagland.
Sure, well, updates, we've been talking about roles and responsibilities and also a future board structure. And multiple folks have said that discussion would be well conducted by an outside facilitator, Simon Surgical. And we've been in touch with Weaver State and are looking at a couple of options there. That's on the front burner, because it goes hand in hand really with our budget concerns. And then one other update on the board structure, which may help us decide if things, we have the opportunity to have an intern who is going to be a recent grad from Weber State, student body president. We all may have had, some of us had exposure to her. She's working with the naming committee. And it's available for either part-time or full-time this year. We are desperately in need of all types of help and support, everything from clerical, administrative, all the way up to organizational. Our clerk, our recorder rather, could be helped substantially with the vast paperwork she has. And so we do have the ability to fund this through private donation. And I just want to put that on the table for the council to say, to ask them, is that an acceptable approach for you all? And if so, it would be our first foray into getting a student/intern type of program going with Weber State that might be more sustainable. This particular candidate has worked since actually last fall on issues related to the new city. She was in a poli-sci class that did studies on the new city, and now she's emerged in leading this naming survey effort. She's also about to start her graduate studies in public administration. So does anyone have concerns?
Yeah, I just have a question. I mean, I think it's a great idea. I mean, my one question would be, as far as choosing the individual, are there others? Do we need to open it up to others, I guess, to have it be a more open thing rather than just we know this person, they have to be my niece or something like that. We'd love to have them come in.
If there were any personal connection like that, I'd say yes, we could better. If it were an ongoing program, I'd say yes, we should look at more structure to it. And if it were funded by city funds versus a private donation, I'd say yes. But given our exigent circumstances and needing help and also appreciating any extra help supplied through the charitable process, I'd say this is a good beta test of how we would use such a person on an ongoing basis. But those are very good questions to raise.
Okay. I think it's a great idea.
Okay.
I have another one on the organizational side, but
Sure.
here on the intern side, go ahead.
I'm on the intern side, so engineering has already agreed. It's not an intern, but he's a Utah State grad student in GIS, and he's offered his services for free this summer to assist us do GIS mapping of our storm drain system. So we're not paying him, nobody's asking for money, and I've said, yeah, as long as you're qualified, and he'll be responsible to make the map. So I haven't asked for permission because I just assumed that it's a no-brainer that if somebody knows what they're doing and they want to volunteer, we'll just throw them into a volunteer pool. I've also asked Nate to put together sort of a scope of what we might put out to the city at large for others who actually have some experience in mapping and in defining things like storm drains and whatever on a volunteer basis this summer. So I know we're going to talk budget, but that's what I put in place over in Public Works and Engineering. We're not proposing to pay anybody anything. I might buy pizzas at the end of the summer, maybe.
That's the only thing that worries me about this, it's the private donations and the precedent it sets down the road is different. Somebody wanting to privately fund something, just too much, I don't know, it seems to need more structure for me.
Well, it hasn't been structured yet. This was a proposal of that yet. The question I would ask though, because I think that it's a valid point, is it about anonymity? Because when we build the structure, if council is interested in accepting the possibility of a paid intern where the money is not coming from the city budget, but from an outside source, we could build a structure that it can't be anonymous. We need to be able to disclose so that there's no perception of impropriety or anything like that. Would that make that feel better, or is it really about money coming from an outside source rather than coming from the budget?
I think for me, it's they should donate to the city, we decide how that's used, kind of thing. I don't want that to say, I wanna pay for an intern to do this.
But
Facilities, and so something along those lines, so if it happens down the road again. People donate money to us and then we can,
the donate money for a general fund that we can distribute however, or, because a lot of times what people do is give money for a specific budget line item. And therefore it can only be spent, like, so for example, that part, back at the beginning of the year. Funds for that can only be used for city celebrations, that's what was written on the check. We could do a intern fund and people could donate, and that also could be if someone wants to donate 200 and it doesn't cover the cost, but they want to contribute. And it goes into that budget line item. I can see it that way, right? I mean, this is for us to decide how we want to create
it
it.
has more
The
structure.
idea is just because we can create it that way.
I think that could be associated with the donors. There may be a little bit more obligation. So I still will figure it out.
Well, to that point, it's on, goes back to Don's point that if we have someone like that, if you do have a general fund. In the future, hopefully that fund builds up and we can say, hey, listen, because you're coming in and you're willing to do that, we're willing to give you a certain, may not be a lot, but it might be enough to get you here. And that might be a great way of advertising that, open it up. To recognize that we're wanting that, we wanna have these new interns, these people who want to get experience to come in and help our valley out with it. Excellent. And I agree with kind of what Peggy's saying there, I hate to be the pessimist in it, but you know, you look around and you see how certain special interest groups can come in and have a huge influence on certain things innocently to the people who don't know the reason for they're there, but there's definitely a reason for them being there. Does that make sense?
Sure.
You know, there's a lot of these issues that are hot topic issues that if they come in and are presented in a certain way, the influence could definitely have a negative effect.
Sure.
And I think
Or a positive effect.
I just suggest we set this up as a beta test. To see how this works, what's the level of work, what's the level of person, student, whatever that we want. Get some experience over the summer.
I love the idea, I really do, I think it's a fantastic idea, I'd love to utilize the, college students who recently graduated to help them to get experience, I think it's an excellent way of doing it, I just think it should be a defined, clear.
oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
I agree, and I can understand your point of. In the selection process, because say you had a special interest group. I'm gonna pick on developers because they're.
Or go AI.
But so, and they said, we wanna fund, you don't have staff, we wanna fund staff, and they got to select, and that person, you could assume, might be more biased towards. That person's projects, and so, yes, that would be a concern, for sure. So I think that putting rules in place and whatever is absolutely a smart and responsible way to go. But I think that. It is something, while I would love to be able to have unpaid interns, I know I had to do unpaid internships, so that's great. We have to acknowledge the fact that we also live. Farther away from where all these interns would be going to school and everything else, and there's gas, and gas is very expensive, and so I do think that a paid internship. Would result in, I mean, we're not talking about a full salary, we're talking about a little stipend, but it would result in a better outcome of quality of student. And I think that's, so if we do have donors that are willing to contribute, I think that is phenomenal. And we should find ways that we can make it work within our conflict of interest and our ethic standards that we put in place. So I think that's great, and thank you for proposing the
You bet,
idea.
and I will just close it off by saying this woman has proven track record and is work on city issues, then that's gonna be his career. So I think this will be a good beta test to see how this will be able to be utilized by the city.
Okay, so I think that this was just for discussion, but I think that it sounds like with the counselors that are here, people are. Interested in the idea and want to flesh it out more,
Okay.
so that sounds good.
The last thing on mine is just the organizational structure as far as getting.
Oh, that's our
Experts in to discuss that, I just think that we all should be a part of that, if there's a expert that we know of that would need help as far as has some experience within city administration, whether it be mayor, city manager, whatever it might be. I think it'd be important to get in touch with those people to
Yeah.
possibly have one or two, maybe three of those come in speak for 10 to 20 minutes on it.
Yeah, we have a lot to learn, but I did send an email saying, here's what we're doing so far. But also, if you know of anyone, we will try to see if they're available. Hopefully, absolutely for no charge.
So it sounds like
Yeah.
Councilmember Hoagland is reaching out to professors and people at the university. If you have somebody in this, I'm not looking at you because you made the comment, but this is everybody. If you know of someone that you think would be an excellent facilitator or even an expert that could weigh in on the topic or anything like that, reach, I guess talk to Councilmember Hoagland, but I'm sure she'll just say, yeah, go reach out to them, but work together to make sure that everybody is telling the right dates and the right whatever, but I don't know that there's a date involved yet. But let's all work together to make sure that we get that done. It is tied to the budget. We are going to have to actually put this topic back on and make some decisions about things, because we have to approve it. Well, we'll get to that later, but right now, at the last meeting, we have to approve a final budget by the end of June, so time is running short. Did you have another comment, or are we moving off that
We
topic?
can move on.
Okay.
Do you want to talk, just to remind people that this is available?
No, because it's not on the agenda, but we do have council comments at the end, and I was gonna bring it up.
Okay.
Yes. Because of our last meeting, we discussed that was. Alright, so next thing on the agenda item 5 is resolution 2026-30. This is authorizing a dark sky committee. This is up top in our agenda today because it was part of a motion that was passed in our last meeting. That it was part of a contingency of passing an ordinance that we passed, was that we come back in our very next meeting, this meeting, and authorize the dark sky committee under the city. We had our attorney write up the resolution because we looked back at the municipal code and that's how we stipulated our advisory committees. I've sent that out to you all to review. Our attorney is not available right now, but he has said, he's on a call, but he said that if we desperately need him, I can text him and he'll try to jump on to answer any questions. This resolution should be relatively simple. I will say, and Councilmember Julie Baker emailed me with regard to it. And I agree with her. Her comments were, why do we need to name the committee members in this resolution? I had the same question. I asked our attorney. I didn't think that needed to happen. I think it seemed overly formal. And that I didn't remember us doing that for previous committees. He stated that this was his advice. And I said, well, what happens if somebody jumps off or we get another person to jump on? And he said, then we do another resolution and add or subtract, and I thought that seemed overly formal, but we paid for his legal advice and that was his legal advice. So it's on the agenda, we can discuss it, we can discuss wanting to amend it, we can amend it.
My thought was it wasn't consistent with our other advisory committees, so what
Right.
you were trying to.
I agree with you.
I'd like to make them all consistent.
I agree with you.
Agree.
Have the same format.
I think it's overly formal, and especially since this came up just a couple days ago. But we do need to pass the advice. What if I name somebody? I mean, my plan was to just take the people from the previous. But what if somebody doesn't want, I can't force them into a committee. And so I would be happy to take it out, but this was the advice of our council. I'm happy to ask our pro bono legal opinion.
Yeah, I'm happy to chime in here. This is a council member and also giving, I think we wrote the original resolution that enabled these committees. They are designed to be flexible, advisory, and not as formal as a planning commission. And so I do not think we should name individuals in these motions. Motion should, and it's allowed by motion as well. We don't need a resolution. But in any event, I think we should make it easy to manage and expand membership as well. So I don't think legally or administratively it would be wise to name individuals in a resolution.
Can I ask, so legally, so I've reviewed this, I can imagine just deleting out section 1. Otherwise, the resolution states the appointment of a dark sky committee by the city, it talks about um, their advisory capacity and briefly mentions their duties, and their term of service, and its effective date. I think if we take out the naming section, we could pass this resolution.
Absolutely.
Does that work for you all?
Based on what we've done with the others, yes.
Works for me. And it would match, I believe the motion was just that we authorize our staff committee in this meeting, which I think that does.
So one other piece that I think is missing in the other groups as we organize was identify the council persons that would be the chair with the co-chairs, whoever are selected, so.
It wasn't in the resolution, right? I think we just announced it in a meeting. I don't think we actually put it in the resolution.
I don't know.
It's not in a resolution.
Did we actually do resolutions
We did.
The initial resolution was one that identified
that
two or
create,
three
it
examples.
said 1, 2,
But it
whatever?
also said these can be appointed by motion or through
Right.
resolution, so we have built in a great deal of flexibility.
Where I was going with that is, we don't have a similar resolution for the naming committee or for the agricultural committee. We did it through the resolution that allowed us to create committees. And then Peggy and team went off and did stuff, and I and others went off and did stuff, and I want to get through this, so I think I'm willing to vote for it, but I'm wondering, why do we need this level of resolution to create new committees? Whereas we should just say, they are hereby chartered, go.
I personally don't think we need this level of resolution, even when there was a term put in here, which escaped me. I don't think that's necessary. And I think the underlying resolution also taught that enabled committee appointments. Enabled them by motion, did not name the sponsor. And also, I think had some reference to period of time. But that's unnecessary. I think
Well,
the time period is unnecessary.
The time period here, just to be clear, it's
Strike that.
simply, until the city council otherwise modifies the membership structure. It doesn't give a date, it's just
That works.
serve at the pleasure and check.
Yeah, so within that original resolution, whatever one committee we choose to do should be an umbrella over those, right? I mean, if we cover
Yeah,
each of those, because we didn't specify that it was gonna be the agricultural committee or the naming committee, right?
if I go back to that, I think those were called out. We had a dilemma because
I think we
because
did
Mayor had
that.
told to name all the.
I wanted to name all the ones we've talked about building and I got shut down.
And there was
Shut down.
in favor of flexibility, that these were very good advisory citizen committees and rather than limiting it and just naming those, let's make it more flexible.
I'd be happy. I wanna make sure that we do whatever was in the motion, and I believe the motion discussed authorizing the dark sky committee. If we don't have to do resolution, I'm fine with not, but we do need to complete the action that was voted in.
I move that we adopt the resolution, we strike out the names of the people.
So section 1.
Yeah. And with that, move forward.
Is there a second?
We're trying to build up the resolution in which we created the ability to
Yes.
create committees. Okay, you sent it yesterday and I can't find the email you sent, or 2 days ago. Where is the silly package, agenda package?
It was,
PDF that I sent you.
You sent a PDF,
The agenda,
right?
but I only had a PDF and it was buried.
and last night I sent you a text or an email saying it was on page.
Page 18, I think.
18 of that PDF of attachments.
Resolution establishing guidance, creation, operation, and annual review of advisory committees. Resolution 2026-13, whereas, et cetera. Establish, the city council may create advisory committees by motion or resolution. Each committee shall have a defined purpose, scope, and expected outcomes. Section 1A, here's the initials. Section 2, informal status. Advisory committees are informal, non-decision-making bodies. Membership and co-chair. Membership is open to residents. One city council member, to Peggy's point, and there will be a co-chair. meetings will happen, annual review by us, duration, ethical conduct, etc. So I think the important thing for today's purpose is by motion or resolution. I'm gonna keep it simple.
Do you want to keep as a motion, because we didn't have a resolution for ag.
That's what I'm saying. I think we're just complicating it by adding another resolution here, and then if we have another committee down the road, we're gonna do another one and another one, and another one. Why not keep it under that umbrella and just motion in a new committee?
Works for me, as long as they were named in there, which this one was, yes.
Oh,
And so we wouldn't be able to motion the youth council I wanted. Because it's not like.
No, wait. The city council may create advisory committees by motion or resolution, period. It doesn't have to have been already in here.
It doesn't have to be the one's name.
No, we're saying we can do it. We deliberately did that when this moment came.
That's
for this flexibility.
For this flexibility.
Yeah.
for sure. There's a new resolution for each
Okay.
one.
I withdraw my motion to adopt the resolution, and I, in exchange, hereby move that we authorize a dark sky committee with a sponsor from council members or mayor. Period.
Is
Did I
there,
miss anything?
Other than if you have to say based off the motion that Dawn made.
you didn't make a motion.
She made the motion.
No, I mean the previous one. Didn't you have to tie that in? Okay. never mind.
She made
I would say there's a motion to authorize the dark sky committee as is stated in our
Yeah.
previous resolution. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
We have a motion to authorize the dark sky committee as per our ordinances or resolutions, previous resolutions by Councilmember Hoagland, and there's a second by Councilmember Doing Baker. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 4-0, we have authorized the dark sky committee.
Let us discuss who might be sponsor. I would be happy to, since it really interested me, and I think this is a big thing for the valley. That I'd like to help support.
Would anybody else like, I mean, people can be involved, just like if the name of the committee, multiple people from council would show up, but one council member is the actual co-chair. Is anybody else interested in co-chairing that committee?
I definitely want to be involved. So, but I'm fine with you chairing.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, if that's all right, I don't think we need a motion for that, but so it sounds like Councilmember Hoagland will take that on as something she is responsible for helping create and move forward with, and Councilmember Booth will be actively involved as well.
Look at us, getting stuff done. This is good. And we can figure out-
Lawyers tell me things.
Yes, they do.
Yes.
Why do we have a 5-page resolution? What do we need a motion?
Well, it was asked.
Yep,
Okay,
it's okay.
agenda item 6, resolution 2026-29, appointing a temporary land use authority. I do believe actually that by state we have to do that.
But by our own municipal code too.
So, all right. Nope, I'm pulling up the wrong one. Hold on, this. Okay, they seem to be labeled with the wrong numbers. This is actually apparently 2026-30. Okay. 2026-30 is apparently the resolution to appoint, and we have appointed JB Engineers as interim planning administrator for Ogden Valley City. So you all received this to review. Any discussion on this item?
Yes, I found it different than I had expected. Does this mean they'll be rotating people? Are we leaving JUB to appoint the person? What is the plan, the interim planning administrator? For how long, and I just didn't get a sense of continuity when I read it.
So when I spoke with our attorney who wrote this resolution, we were discussing it in terms of, so we need to name a land use authority. There was discussion of naming, what is the requirement in naming, and what was advised was our planner is a named is not a named person in our code, but is Brian Carver. He works, we have him through JUB. When, say, for example, just recently Brian was out, we had other JUB people there in place making decisions. By naming the organization rather than a specific person, it gives that flexibility that if somebody is out, that the person from JUB that is there is able to still have authorization to make decisions. That's the way it was explained to me, was that it makes no difference. We need to name somebody, we can name the organization, and then it is known that Brian Carver is our JUB planner. That is who we work with. But in the case that if he's not there and they send somebody else, that person is also, because JUB is the overall umbrella. That's the way it was explained.
Doesn't that happen automatically though, because we contract with JUD to provide those services and kind of flow with Brian's team?
Another aspect of this ties into the budget. Because still on the table is consideration, are we gonna hire someone internally? Or contract, and I think we had that discussion last week about how that would happen. You know, do we need an RFP, would it be a hire or some other arrangement? I don't think we're 100% settled down at this point as to how we're managing this. JUB gives you the flexibility while reflecting the current utilization of the firm. One of the advantages of being a firm is you get to utilize different personnel in the firm without a question of whether their actions are done by a person who is named at the firm.
So that should be implicit in what we do here, by naming somebody, it's still, they're contracted through that firm.
You would think so, but
This just seems the same way on the other side, this seems very vague for some reason.
I think it has something with that same person.
Yeah, my question would just be to Brian, is this adding to what you've already been doing? It kind of seems like a lot of these would be the same things that you've already been doing as far as planning administrator. Is this adding additional administrative tasks to your?
No, I don't believe it's adding anything, and at least it may include tasks that we have not yet been conducting, but they're certainly appropriate for to be included in our task lists.
It's the role he is.
Yeah, that's what I kind of asked it knowing that.
Okay.
I felt like he was already.
He is.
Yeah.
My understanding was this gave the flexibility if he's out or whatever, but otherwise, this is the role he is in.
Right.
And it comes into play, sorry, I'm gonna expand on this discussion, it comes into play as we are now rolling out an moratorium, because there are certain things that don't come before the planning commission or the city council, but they are strictly directly decided on from the land use authority. That's from the state level. So administrative items, things like subdivisions, they don't come before planning commissions or city council, they go straight to a land use authority. So we have to name a land use authority, and it was advised that we do it this way for flexibility. Yes, Councilmember Hickman.
I'm with my colleague across the table. It doesn't make sense to me. If Brian was our W-2 employee and we named him as the planning administrator and he went on a 2-week vacation, would we have also named multiple others as the interim planning administrator? Or is it just understood he's on vacation and when he gets back, stuff will be done? That's what we would do. So why are we being so generic with respect to JUB? It doesn't make sense to me.
I have another hypothetical situation. What if Brian leaves JUB for some other job?
Yeah, then I'll count it back and he's our W-2 employee and he quits. What do we do?
Well, that's a
We
different scenario.
well, we name a new
We would
person.
To go through hiring, and that's a different structure.
No, it's not. It could be the same through JUB. Say, give us a new one and we'll name them.
Let us say Brian gets a fabulous job working for state government. Then if we name him by name in this, do we have to have another resolution that, oh, here's the next JUP person?
We'd do the same if he was W-2. Under this rule, we'd have to name a new person.
Point is, the beauty of naming the firm is you've got flexibility that does not change based upon who's sitting in the seat or who's doing the assignment.
I'd be curious what other cities do. It seems to me like we're making this unnecessarily
Absolutely.
squishy.
We can call the question and the votes can have it, it doesn't matter, I think that, I think the point of this was for flexibility, if you all don't want that, you're welcome to make a motion with an amendment to the resolution, but let's go ahead and call the question, is there a motion?
May I ask another question?
Yes, sir.
Is time I assume time is of the essence that we have a person assigned because we passed a resolution
Yes.
on Tuesday that says this person needs to exist in it. Is that what's going on?
You bet.
Okay.
Because it would make sense to me to have the budget, go through the lean and mean first before we decide on a particular person. Because we may not be able to afford Brian. I think Brian, I don't mean to be talking about the city here, I just want to be very honest about, our situation here and our budget. So we may have to cut back money. And would that impact us at all?
The beauty is, go ahead, can I answer the question?
You can, and then I've got another point.
The beauty is, this gives you the flexibility, not solely dependent on Brian's tenure at JUB. What if we say, we want the junior planner to be doing this, not Brian? Well, there we are. Do we have to have another resolution to go to a junior planner within JUB? If we name him, we would. And it seems to be, we're hiring the firm. We're not hiring the individual. We're hiring the firm in its talent. And that's one of the benefits of hiring firms for this kind of work. It's flexible, you can go hire, go over a junior guy versus the person. So we're hiring a firm, but we're retaining the firm and naming the firm. We are not hiring the person.
And I think with the title of interim, that allows us, Peggy, to where if we come through the budget in a month now and have to realize, oh wow, we can't afford this. My guess is that's why having the interim tag on there allows us to make an adjustment going forward with, we could make an adjustment anyways, but interim, I think, helps us with that.
As the municipal code geek on city council, in Title II, we create the positions, the officers of the organization, mayor, us, recorder, engineer, planning administrator. And I thought we created that position in the resolution we passed on Tuesday. The others, the city engineer, the recorder, though, and I'm paraphrasing because I haven't put over, it says, the mayor will appoint with our advice and consent a recorder, an engineer.
Sure.
So why are we complicating this?
Mhm.
We Hit it in that exactly the same paragraph, the mayor with the advice and consent of city council will appoint a planning administrator. And then, here you go, appoint the planning administrator and be done. Versus a resolution to do this.
My understanding is by state law, we have to name a land use authority.
Also naming. Well, you're naming it. It is not the appointment naming.
Not necessarily, legally,
I
not
don't know,
necessarily.
this is what our state attorney advises.
I hear you.
Yeah.
To me, it's becoming unnecessarily bureaucratic. I'm willing to say yes, just so we have one so we can do our job. But as the self-appointed geek on the municipal code, 2.01.08 something is Sharon's been appointed. Or maybe you haven't, you're just acting. The city engineer, the city attorney, and we left reserved the appointment of a planning administrator, which you guys know that I've been harping on for 5 months now. I thought the resolution we passed on Tuesday at least said we're gonna fix it. It referenced 2.01.08. If we didn't fix it, let's quit making it complicated, but if we have to pass this so we can act, I'll pass it.
I will chime in because that same lawyer who wrote that resolution also wrote this resolution of appointment.
And I'm gonna chime in again, multiple times we found things that are not always consistent in our municipal.
We're gonna hear from Councilmember Bidley. Raise your hand.
Just like the dark skies we've had that's perfect. I think this is an important position. I think it needs a person committed to it. I believe that I would want to have somebody, I think it's explicit in our contract that JUB is there and their bench is there for us. So I think it's very circular and it doesn't make sense to me. I would recommend we put Brian's name in it, is what I would recommend.
Okay,
I will call for a motion.
I will move to adopt resolution number
2026-30.
2026-30, appointment of a temporary land use authority.
Is there a second? That a second, the motion dies. Is there another motion?
Like I said, I'm not against this. I'm not against moving forward, but 2.01.080 is our municipal code and it's silent because we haven't fixed that silly section yet. Why don't we say the mayor, with the advice and consent of city council, will appoint a city planning administrator and make it simple.
To follow up on that. Advice and consent means we need to vote, and that's what we're doing now. And so is it just you're adapting to writing it in a resolution? Or would you just like a motion and a vote?
But for me, I think it's ironic, the first two resolutions we brought up kind of have the same exact issues, right? That we don't maybe technically need to adopt a resolution on either of these. We decided that on the dark sky, now we're deciding some kind of very similar thing on this one, right? That it should just be an appointment versus a resolution. Is that kind
I
of
would
just,
have him call in, because this is
Yeah.
something that I'm concerned about
Yeah, the
the
legal
state code that talks about land use authorities. And I wouldn't want us to assume that this is being overly formal if in fact it's answering something we have to do. So,
While you're doing that, I would recommend that we look at an option of, since it is temporary, why we look at our budget and everything else for this year, since everything's changed. Since it is temporary, we just
good morning, are you able to come on
run
to that first? To discuss, I can put you on speaker, you can meet your other call, and I can add you, we've got some questions about the interim land use authority. I'm gonna put you on speaker, if that's all right, yeah, one second. All right, you are on speaker. Would anyone like to?
Corbin, this is Dawn. Good morning, we're discussing the draft resolution creating a planning administrator. I, the self-appointed municipal code geek of the city council, have reminded city council that we have a section of 2.01.08 that is the planning administrator director of the city. That we have yet to put into there that the mayor, with the advice and consent of council, will from time to time appoint them. Why do we need to go through a resolution to do all that, when if we were to simply change the municipal code, add it, and give the mayor advice and she can appoint, we're done with this? Why do we need the resolution? Corbin, not Kate.
Yeah, and I just have a footnote, if we do have that power to appoint with advice and consent, we still have to vote anyway, wouldn't we?
Yeah, but advice and consent doesn't take a resolution.
So you want to go.
Talking about, you probably don't need to do that, you probably can just make she makes she makes the recommendation, you say, yeah, we're good to go, put it on the record, but you're not being hurt by using the resolution, but you certainly, if you want.
Corbin, the code that Councilmember Hickman quoted talks about a planning administrator. This resolution talks about a land use authority. Is there a difference between the two titles?
They talked about, we called out both of those
Yeah,
titles,
something
if I remember correctly, so you can call either one, they're basically
Okay, and is there anything in the state code when it comes to land use authorities, since I know it references certain items from planning go straight to the land use authority. Is there anything there that talks about needing to formally adopt the land use authority?
No, probably not, but it says you have to do it by consent, so you don't have to do it by resolution.
Okay. So if what I'm hearing is correct, we could do it by a motion. and be done with that.
Yeah, you can.
Okay. Any other questions for Corbin? Okay, thank you very much, Corbin.
Just, I have one
Oh,
more
wait,
question.
1 second.
So the bottom line is,
Wait,
the bottom line is, it doesn't make a difference whether it's a resolution or a
right,
motion.
it's just more formal.
Okay. Is that the case?
Yes, that's it.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Okay.
Now, may I?
Mhm.
Now, here's the city engineer. The mayor, with the advice and consent of the city council, shall from time to time appoint a qualified person or firm, to Kay's point, who will have a valid professional license, etc. So we have said that. So we could appoint a firm versus an individual if we were to follow the model that we said for a civil engineer. Period. I think a way forward is we could craft a motion that says this, that either we move to appoint JUB writ large or Brian Carver specifically and be done with this. Or we can pass the resolution and be done with this. But either way, we need a planning administrator.
Can I comment?
Yep.
We're spending a lot of time splitting hairs that our lawyers saying don't make a difference. And while it's really nice to discuss these fine points, we have so much work to do. So I'd say I'll make a motion, or someone else can make a motion, pass the resolution, or to make an appointment, but in the interest of time, let's focus not on hypotheticals and not on fine points that don't make a difference according to our lawyer.
All right, so. Okay, if we were going to discuss advice and consent, then we need to get an agreement on what that means, because we have not necessarily been acting the way that I understand that to be. So my understanding is that in that regard, the mayor brings a selection or a suggestion, and then the council provides their advice and agreement on the selection from the mayor. That is not how we've run it, and I've been fine with all hands on deck, and we're, engineering portfolio, put forth the engineering group and things like that, perfectly fine, but if we're going to change tack, we're going to need to actually obey the law. So how would you like to proceed? Would you like to adopt this resolution, or would you like me to put forth a suggestion for you all to comment on?
So you're, just so I can understand what you said there, so what you're saying is the way that we were sort of just, like on the planning side, the engineering side, we brought the names forward, and you're saying that possibly we were overstepping as far as maybe not.
We have not previously proceeded under the actual advice and consent procedure, which has been fine. I'm not.
I understand.
But if it's gonna be something that we are publicly calling out we need to do, then we should actually do it.
Yeah.
Okay, if we revisit the appointment of our engineer. That was done during the interim period where we had. How can I say, streamlined ability to work as a group. And make contracts and appointments and do hires, so I would say that's not necessarily the precedent for advice and consent. It was operating under a different provision of the state code. This is now, we're subject to the state code, and as our lawyer said, it doesn't make a difference whether we do it by motion, which represents advice and consent, or whether we do it by resolution, both of which get voted on.
But it sounds like, sorry, real quick, back to the mayor's point here, it sounds like if we go by motion versus resolution, motion might make us, if we're doing it the correct way, be a little bit more formal in the process of bringing names to the table to choose versus a resolution.
I would say this, the way it would work is the mayor doesn't bring a bunch of names to the table, she appoints. But with the advice and consent. And that process does not anticipate that she'd bring a panel of people in. And then they ask for consent.
I just don't want to, my point to that is I don't want to complicate what we've already been
Right.
doing hopefully very well. If we're doing it wrong, maybe we do need to get it fixed.
I would say, as Corbin said, this doesn't make a difference. I would say he drafted the underlying resolution that resulted in this. And he drafted this resolution to activate the appointment that was provided for in the prior resolution. I therefore move that we adopt resolution number 2026-29.
No, I'm at 30.
30, sorry, appointing a temporary land use authority.
Can you bring up the same one twice?
Yes.
Yeah, nobody else made a motion, so,
I'm so glad we're doing fine points here. I'm so glad I renew my motion.
no, it's fine, no one else made a motion, so is there a second?
I second, and I'm gonna caveat it, that, but there's hereby recorded a second. What I'm frustrated by is we have a municipal code that apparently we don't always go back to and see what it already says when we're bringing resolutions. And we need to get some discipline into that process by us and or our attorney. Because this could have been simply solved by saying, here's the municipal code, this is all we have to do. That's my frustration. And I realize we spent 20 minutes doing this, but this is an important point. We wouldn't have needed to had somebody other than the self-appointed municipal code Nazi gone to a municipal code and said, here's what it says, do it. That's my frustration. I have hereby seconded.
Thank you. And in support of that comment, I will say, this lawyer who also helped to write that municipal code doesn't agree with that reading of our municipal code in this instant resolution that we now get to discuss if we need to and vote.
Okay. All right, there is a motion on the table to adopt resolution 2026-30, and there is a second. It is a resolution. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
So we have 3 for and 1 against, and the motion passes to adopt.
Just on it, I agree with Don on that, saying, I would like, for my sake, going forward as far as understanding how government works, consistency, I think, is a key to this. And if we're not being consistent, and I understand, Kate, you've got a lot deeper understanding on the law side of it, but my simple mind of not having that, we've just complicated something that we probably didn't need to do by just sticking with the municipal part of it versus now adding a resolution. So further down the line, when we're all gone, a new group's going to come and say, why did you do it this way? You did a resolution when you didn't need to do it this way. That's my simple mind's just working through it and complicate. Same idea about the very first one on item 5, same thing. Had we gone with the resolution for naming of Dark Sky Committee, down the line someone had said, well, wait a second, you already passed a resolution to have committees. Now you've got another one out here that's a resolution for just the Dark Sky one. It doesn't make sense. So that my simple mind's like thinking down the line when other people are in our place, they're saying, why did you do it this way? And I just would like consistency going forward. That's why I was surprised Don seconded it.
So this comes down to, okay, a couple of things. Number one, let's state the obvious that we are a brand new city, we are building a city, and all members of the 6-member city council are new, have not built a city before, have not run a city before. There are very few positions that we are paying experts to do. One of them is our attorney. In the past, when there's been a discrepancy on the board, we have had members say, what does the attorney say? Let's do what the attorney says. I've heard members of this council say that. This is a situation where the exact same attorney that wrote a municipal code has made this suggestion. I did push back because I thought they were overly formal. This was his legal advice. I'm not an attorney. We pay this gentleman. I think it would actually be negligent of me as the mayor to say, well, I disagree, so I'm throwing out your legal advice. I brought to the table the legal advice. So if there is a discrepancy in that, it goes to whether we think the attorney that we've hired is too formal and it doesn't need to be quite as formal. And that might be a personality of this particular attorney. There might be other attorneys that are too lax. That might be a matter of shopping around. But at the moment, our legal advice from our paid attorney was to do this. So I think that I get the frustration, but to spend 30 minutes on it doesn't make that much of a difference, and that's his advice. If we don't like the style of our attorney, we can shop around. But at the moment, I would say adopt a new mom. Because we've got a lot of other things going on, and unless somebody else has some free time that they wanna pick up to, I don't know, be the, what is it, what do you have, under attorney's legal? Paralegal, yes, exactly.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Mayor. My point is, I think we're going through these things, spending more time than normal to help us to get better at what we're doing. And I think this is a perfect example. You stated it exactly right. He did this resolution, but then he also came on the phone and said, yeah, it doesn't really matter. You could do it this way too.
He's done that multiple
I
times.
know, but the point of that is saying, now that I just worked it through, I wished I would have voted against, because I think we should have gone back to just the municipal part of it, because that would have simplified it going forward for the future.
Maybe.
Okay. But that's my point, I'm done with it, they've done it, we shouldn't fast it, but going forward, I just think for consistency of government and helping newbies, myself, it just helps to be consistent with it.
I agree.
So, that's my take on it. I
Okay,
can move on.
let's
I'm
move
sorry.
on,
Yeah.
because we're an hour, we're an hour.
You have to say what I will give them.
You don't always have to, but if you wish to, I feel like you have expressed it, but if you wish to, you were welcome to say
I wish to. Because this was two pieces in there, and this is such an important job, I voted no because I think I needed the consistency of a person. And since it's temporary, we've had Brian this far, I would have liked to have seen us be consistent and keep that till we make a permanent change. That's what I voted no.
He is still in it, it's just that he works for JD, that's right. Right, we're not replacing, he's our guy,
But
that's fine. Alright, let's move forward, because we have land use code to get through as well. Next on the agenda is agenda item 7, which is the Enbridge franchise agreement. This had been tabled in our previous meeting, so that people had time to have clarity on the contract and the ordinance itself. So everybody has been sent the ordinance as well as the exhibit A and the contract. Councilmember Hoagland, we don't have Corbin on the line, and I don't actually think he worked on this. Would you like to explain or give any background, or is there any explanation needed? Can we just simply vote to adopt?
I move we approve ordinance 2026-40 Enbridge franchise agreement.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion on the table to adopt 2026-40 Enbridge franchise agreement, and from Councilmember Hickman, and a second from Councilmember Hoagland. This is an ordinance. I will go in ascending order of district, starting with Councilmember Julie Baker.
Aye.
Councilmember Hoagland.
Aye.
Councilmember Booth.
Aye.
Councilmember Hickman. That is a 4-0 vote to adopt the ordinance 2026-40 Enbridge agreement. Hey, look, you're actually in an order right now. All right. Next up is agenda item 8, ordinance 2026-43, parking citations. This was sent over, this came up at the end of our meeting on Tuesday. We were approached by both the sheriff's office as well as the courthouse in Washington Terrace, and contacted me stating that while we have our internal civil municipal code on parking citations, what we did not do is a criminal version, and that is also required. And so looking to immediately fix that problem, we had I think it was our other attorney, Bill Morris, as well as with counsel from Councilmember Hoagland, they scripted this citation ordinance that would deal with fun criminal.
And I will explain how Bill jumped to our aid. He too works with Washington Terrace, courthouse and justice court, in another assignment of his. And so when he was told of this problem, he went to the comparable ordinance that had been adopted by one of the other cities he represents. I will say this is quite detailed, and, I trust that it's what we need. I do think it's a balance between, do we need to examine this more? This may be worth for more detail.
Councilor Rainmaker would like to see.
Or
I'm sorry, I thought you were done.
I
Sorry,
just
hold on.
want to clarify the title. Will you tell me the title?
yeah, I will explain that. The ordinance is really called,
Transportation.
transportation. And that's a stylistic difference. Before this was drafted, before we knew the name of the ordinance that would be drafted, so the agenda called it out, parking citations. It also, I think you put your finger on the point, it deals with a lot more than just the parking citations.
So I want to address that because this is a factor of being a starting city. For all the reasons I just explained in a previous conversation. These agendas have to be posted in advance, and we have to have the staff and ability to post them physically in a town, in a side of the valley that the people who do the posting do not live. These agendas have to go out. Oftentimes, because we are moving so quickly and without staff, we are getting documents late, which we have discussed previously about packets and this and that. These agendas have to be, created. So oftentimes I'm creating an agenda based off of conversations about things that are going to be coming later, and I have to name them. Everything I talked about with the people involved only really talked about it being about parking citations, so that's what I labeled it. But when it comes out that the ordinance itself is given a different legal name, this is kind of that flexibility we need because we are working from the seat of our pants.
I understand, I just want to make sure I was on the right document.
Yes, and well, and it was, so that was news to me too, but for the public as well, this is why sometimes these numbers are incorrect. I'm writing an agenda before the documents are created, and it turns out they've numbered it differently, and then named it a different formal name, but the topic is still correct, if that makes sense. All right, so, Councilmember Hickman.
I've read it in its entirety. Like Kay said, in order to vote for it, I have to trust that the language in there is specific and gives us the authority to actually criminally charge. So I can't answer whether or not it does. If others are comfortable that it does, I'll tip my hat to them because that's not my specialty. The majority of it, of course, is public works, which lands squarely into my domain. I have some happy to glad comments on it that we could discuss, but it establishes roads and how roads are going to be maintained and signs are going to be whatever. Frankly, if we pass it, then I sit down with Joe Hadley at the county and say, "You're doing this already, right?" And Joe shook his head, he's doing this already. There's some stuff in snow removal that I think we need to change slightly, but other than that, I could support it, assuming it actually does what we want it to. And I don't know if it does. Sure.
A quick comment is, our prior discussion stylistically. Do we get really detailed? Do we get really formal? Do we write things a little bit more generally? Some of this is, do we do it by motion? Do we do it by resolution? This is another example. More mature cities, such as those that Bill represents, Attorney Morris rather, tend to be more complicated and tend to have more involved ordinances, and I'm just pointing out that's probably what you're seeing happens.
I just couldn't figure out who the director is and help me with
What's the director of public works, which we're proposing to hire a person in our budget, period. Being the geek on the municipal code, we don't create a position, but we could. And I'm the one acting in that capacity right now.
So it is public works director.
The director is called out at the beginning of the ordinance as the public works director.
If I may chime in, that's one area where I crafted language to make it flexible, so that there's some language in there about or such other person.
Right.
So, again, I'm gonna state that we have been informed that we need to pass this in order to enforce the parking citations. It is right now, this is Memorial Day weekend, this starts. The enhanced parking citation violations around Pine View. It is something we need to do. We put it out to our paid authorized attorneys. This is what they've sent us, telling us this is what you need to adopt. It is on the agenda for adoption. So unless there are specific things that you disagree with, I think we move forward by adopting what we've been advised to do to get this done.
I move we adopt ordinance 2026-43 titled
Transportation.
Transportation Code.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion on the table from Councilmember Hickman to adopt ordinance 2026-43 transportation code with a second by Councilmember Hoagland. It is an ordinance, it is, by the way, 10:11, and Councilmember Shaw has joined us. So I will start with the sending order of districts. Councilmember Shaw, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Doing Baker.
Aye.
Councilmember Hoagland.
Aye.
Councilmember Booth.
Aye.
Councilmember Hickman.
Aye.
Fantastic. It is a 5-0 unanimous decision to adopt the transportation code. Ordinance 43. Agenda item 9, ordinance 2026-33. We're into land use. This is Title 106 subdivision. Okay.
So we're now at the point where we're beginning to look at codes that we, the council, have not yet reviewed as the pilot. Some of these we have, but several of these we haven't. So that's just a statement that the sausage making will begin in Don's terms. Now, the only one of these that is a residential related one is residential manufactured house, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct, Brian Carver?
Yes.
Well, and Stan, and we've agreed, or maybe we didn't agree, 108.9 motor vehicle.
Right.
May or may not be residential related. It was hard to tell by what we were reading.
But it had been tabled, and so it's back.
Right. Oh, yeah, it's a zombie. It keeps coming back. We've spoken about manufactured MV1. We have not spoken about CV2 or CBR1. So I'm just making statements. That's where we are. Let's do it.
Right, so I have on the agenda as number 9, the subdivision title 106. Unless there is a recommendation to start somewhere else, let's go ahead and get in.
Brian's got it up on our handy Zoom screen. Just trying to get us to vomit by changing the font back and forth. You're making me take my reading glasses on and off. There we go. It's been 2 weeks since I looked at this. I did make comments on this. The two main comments that I remember making, one is related to the definition of the density calculation, and another comment is related to the flag lots.
Flag.
Flag lots. And then I make a generic comment about there appears to be some significant language related to wetlands, therefore water law. And I've made the comment, has legal reviewed it, and I'm assuming our attorney has not. So we can go down through it. I don't know if you guys put comments on it, but I did. Want to head down, Brian?
Peggy's got comments on that.
Okay, yeah, I thought Peggy had too.
Okay, so this is subdivisions, yeah, so there was some added language there that says this title also intends to preserve agricultural operations, irrigation infrastructure, rural character and property rights while allowing reasonable subdivision of land. Which is an interesting comment, because this is under subdivisions to say basically we intend to do all these other things while allowing subdivisions. But that's fine. I don't have a problem with it, just interesting.
It's consistent with the way the planning commission has approached agriculture through one of the planning commissioners. But I I don't object to it, but it is interesting that it was added.
Okay, let's get into it. There's a comment, there's some blue additions under section 106-1-2, and there are comments related to it from both Councilmember Hickman and Julie Baker. Starting off with, this is a critical issue, which experts advise the planning commission on this language. We need to hear from them before I can agree to any of this. This is with regard to, I'm guessing, density calculation.
Yep. Net developable acreage.
Yeah, that's my main question too.
Okay. And then I believe the comment, I'm guessing it's also related to the same, it says, Mike, this is from Julie Baker, my input in these address the problem we had at NVB, I don't know what NVB is.
North Valley Village.
Oh, okay, where all acreage of the ski resort was used for the TDRs without taking out slope easements and streams that resulted in higher density from the mountainside that should have been the case. Okay.
So using the net developable acreage, Brian, can you give us a little background on where that came from, please?
Sure, net developable acreage is defined in both Weaver County and the city code as the total acreage within a project boundary subtracting acreage unsuitable for development as defined in this section or otherwise provided in the land use code. When calculating net developable acreage, the area encumbered supposed to be encumbered by a street right of way or other required right of way providing primary access to a lot is considered area unsuitable for development. The term net developable area shall have the same meaning unless the context clearly indicates otherwise. There are a number. I mean, there are a couple of other esoteric terms in here with net gross acreage, net acreage, developable acreage versus buildable acreage. But the intent of the density calculation method is to determine just how much of the land or parcel could reasonably be used to create a minimum, a lot of the minimum required size. After you subtract the right of way for public services and utilities, this does not include typically what would be considered unbuildable land, which would be wetlands or floodplains or steep slopes, things like that. So the developable acreage is not the same as the buildable acreage, but the developable acreage is what's used to calculate the lot size, even though individual lots may end up with a considerable amount of unbuildable acreage.
Okay, first question just on that definition. So this is really, is this specific to understanding how to carve up a subdivision?
Exactly.
Okay,
Yes.
and if that's different from probably the TDR determination, which is a separate.
It's a separate issue. Yes.
Okay, the question I had is, in this reading, it seems inordinately complicated. And I don't know if there's a precedent for doing it this way, just in a little bit of research, it's looked like there's a rule of thumb that is an alternative, like figuring out 20% is not going to be of any area would not be developable, where they're not going around and measuring the roads and every little thing. So I just question the administrative sense of this versus an alternative.
Well, for an example, just carrying on what Kate said, for if you have an example, let's say you have 21 acres, exactly 21 acres. That's based off of this, or based off of my thoughts on that, again, on this, you would have the ability to subdivide that into 7 buildable lots. But with this, you probably wouldn't be able to get that because you'd have to take away some of the items that would discount that down to 21 acres. I'm just saying it ended up at 19.7 acres because of the right of ways and the certain things you're putting into that. So it goes from 7 to 6 buildable lots.
So the new density calculation language that was added by the planning commission wouldn't change that. Even if you took that out, we are still looking at subtracting that necessary public right of way from any total lot area, gross acreage, in order to find that net developable. This additional density calculation acreage, language was added to create basically additional methods to withhold, developable acreage and
Right.
essentially lower the net density of, developable land.
Councilmember.
By creating additional steps to remove. Remove.
Brian? Thank you for that explanation. Which expert advised the planning commission on this suggested language?
The planning commission broke, for each of these different ordinances, the planning commission broke up into small teams of groups smaller than a quorum, that workshopped these items together. I wasn't present for any of those individual group workshops, but sometimes they used that opportunity to contact individuals about specific topics, but in most cases, I believe it was simply just researching best practices and other alternatives on the year. So I don't believe there was any specific expert, other than, my staff has reviewed this subdivision language several times and hasn't, we agree it's, more restrictive than has been done in the past, but it's nothing stands out saying that it would be particularly problematic. I mean, it's more administratively.
It is a follow-up. So your staff, Derek Broughton, I assume you pronounce his name,
Yeah.
made a comment, and I referenced this, that some of this seem overly restrictive.
Yeah.
So your staff didn't say generally it's good. I'm putting words in your mouth, but at least Derek Broughton, and I'm not saying he's right or not, I'm trying to understand what to do. Period.
Okay.
Over to others.
Councilmember Headland.
Again, a little out of the box thinking, this seems to spread out density versus concentrating density. And this is where I think it's easy to forget that in the general plan, the whole notion of those village nodes or clustered development areas is to cluster density versus allowing all these density units to run all over the valley floor. So when I read something and it says it allows more density to be put in one place, I generally view that as that can be a positive thing because we're chewing up density rather than letting it spread all over the valley.
I'm confused, will you?
Sure. One premise of the general plan is
I get that.
but here, one of the comments here is, one of the criticisms was you don't want those subdivisions to be dense. But in fact, this rather restrictive approach.
What do you mean you don't want, sorry.
I'm lost.
To dense. I don't know if I see where, because it's more the calculation of the actual, what you can put in a subdivision, the density of the actual.
Maybe it's
location of the houses, I don't think are even mentioned.
No, this is how much density you can put in one place, right? And so the observation is, this is a more restrictive approach to how much density you can put in a subdivision. It eliminates more things out of that calculation. So you'll end up with a less dense concentration in that subdivision, which to me cuts against the principle of we want to use density in clustered areas like a subdivision.
And I think, talking with one of the planning commissioners on this, goes back to your original point of this, is that it's two separate things. I think part of their language putting in here is trying to define or limit the usage of TERs. And I think we almost have to have two separate areas here where we're dealing with the subdivision within the area, the geographic area, versus what also is going to be allocated for possible TDR shipping to other higher density areas. And we may need a different definition for that, on that, based on what you said on the Regatta Village.
Yeah, that would be more like it's the village zone ordinance that we come up with.
Yeah,
Councilmember Hickman has deferred to Shaw first and then it goes to you.
I just, wanna step into what Derek Broughton said about driveways. Disallowing the inclusion of the area making up the drive. So explain that to me, so you can't include as buildable area the driveway? Is that what it's saying?
The drive or access to the property of the interior lot. If a driveway wouldn't necessarily count against. I'll bring Derek's.
If I'm not mistaken, it's the difference of buildable versus density though. If someone has to use Councilmember Booth's example, 21 acres, and it's in a 3-to-1 area. You have 7 density rights, period. I mean, yes, 21, 7 density rights. Now, when you go to build your house, you still have to have the space to put a driveway and an easement and all these other things. But you have 7 density rights. They're 2 separate.
Yeah, but I'm cutting that area out, so.
I think this language is, but that's not what it's supposed to do. You have 7 density rights.
That's what I want to.
Right? Oh, no, I think you should take that.
Okay, because that's restricting. If maybe somebody's lot they can build on because that is.
If I have exactly 3 acres. By our ordinances, I have 1 development right. If you're telling me that because I have to put a driveway in and an easement, I don't have 3 acres anymore, now I don't have any development. No, that's not how this works. This needs to come out, the intent is confused in my opinion.
the intent, based off the planning commissioner discussion I had, was to help with the TDRs.
But this is not a TR ordinance.
I realize that, but I think
You want that judgment.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Brian, I can't find Peggy, please excuse me, I'm going back to Weaver County, but I cannot find in the Weaver County subdivision ordinance 106 an extensive definition of net development. The only one I can find is in the definitions 1012.
Yeah, that's correct.
So-
The Beaver County Code refers to the definition of gender.
So our planning commission is suggesting significant additional criteria adds far beyond what and I chose that deliberately, everybody, far beyond what Weaver County is suggesting, that we're discovering will significantly restrict or change people's use of their land. Am I interpreting right?
Right, yeah, 3 acre lots would become absolutely right. Okay,
So
so,
all of a sudden you wouldn't have that.
right, stay.
But also, I want you to keep an eye into this, because this is how we want to develop responsibly going forward. That is our job, not to
What is so how you want to develop responsibly.
to look at these ordinances and say, right now, we have the opportunity to do this, to say how we want to move forward. Not go back, but how we want to get forward. So I think the effort here was to say with subdivisions, now this isn't cluster subdivisions, I'm trying to understand.
That's a separate ordinance.
It's a separate ordinance that we've done. This is just subdivisions on land and how people that are landowners, large landowners, want to create subdivisions on there. So it's not, I don't know, we gotta keep an eye on density down the road. We don't even know what our complete build out is yet. We don't know that number. So you don't.
No, I understand.
And I just think they're trying to balance a lot of different things here. The streets, I understand the argument with that. I'm a little slower on understanding why wetlands, streams and other areas, sensitive lands are included. So that in the last couple bullet points, stormwater facilities, subdivision infrastructure, and those things would be included. As we give people density to do subdivisions.
So I'm just gonna interject. In what you said, that this is our opportunity to think of how we want to I guess.
Road responsible.
Road responsible. So, but the thing is what I'm hearing here is this change, if that's what's considered, it to me is arose by another name, but it's a down zone. That's down zone. So if I have exactly 3 acres, but I now don't have 3 acres because I had to subtract all this out, you have now taken my development, my right away. So we need to name it what it is. That is a down zone.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
In that's in this subdivision ordinance. In a single family home, and Brian, maybe you can help me answer this one. Do I count all the easements and out to the roads and all that, the streets in a single family home?
Do you understand subdivision, this is a single family home.
Right, within a subdivision, but we're going to the smallest lot size.
I'm not in the subdivision and I mean, in a.
But can I ask you
I'm
to
in
answer
the
the question?
subdivision.
When lots are created, the actual lot acreage is what's used to calculate the number of developable units within a parcel. So having 21 acres does not guarantee you 7 development rights. One, you have to take away all the land that's required for road right of ways. Easements are a different story. Easements are not necessarily a restriction on lot developable acreage, but they can be an influence on what your buildable area within the lots. So, you know, as Councilmember Hoagland mentioned, it's more like if you have 21 acres, you have to subtract a percentage, and it can vary between 20 and 35% across communities, depending on what your restrictions are, requirements are for public right of ways. But once you remove that 20%, for example, it's that 21 acres minus 20% that you can then divide by 3 acres to decide how many buildable lots you have. Once the lot is created, you have your 1 acre lot. It doesn't matter. Unless in very rare instances you are allowing subdivisions where the property line goes into the public right of way. That's typically a very old archaic way of dividing streets up where the street itself is just an easement across property and your property extends to the central line essentially. And that's a century old way of platting towns, but most communities, they have condemned and quit claimed and taken those easements as public property over time. But the intent is, you know, if the intent is to create a 1 acre lot, you draw a box that equals 1 acre that does not include any publicly owned.
What would you recommend here for us?
I mean, it kind of goes to what is your intent? I believe the intent of the planning commission is to, as has been mentioned, reduce the impacts of transferable development rights and in general just lower the overall available density, which as the mayor has also pointed out could be considered a down zone. It's to reduce the amount of developable land and reduce the overall total number of units within the valley over time.
I'm not sure which one went first because I was looking over here, but Hickman and Hoagland, do you guys want to duel it out?
You were first, and then I'll go, and then we do have
But you want to go.
a smart person in the audience who desperately wishes to make it.
Yeah, real quick, you mentioned in your comments, well, I saw you kind of going back to that rule of thumb that I stumbled across in research, which is generally an approach where you take the area, discount it by 20%, and there you are.
Yeah, when a real estate developer does a pro forma to determine what they're going to get out of a piece of property, you know, there are lots of different formulas and it does depend on the community, but there's that kind of rule of thumb, 20 to 30% of the land that you own cannot be counted against the total number of units you can build on.
Okay, so following that, since you said this is, and if I understand it, this is not driving TDR usage. Okay, so it's a separate issue. And given that, it seems like that's what their intent was, but that's not what this kind of ordinance does. And so also the fact that there are so many comments, there's so much misunderstanding indicates it's administratively complicated. So I'd be much more in favor of getting a more standard approach to this simple determination. Because if we're having trouble wrestling with it, it'll be hard to administer.
Councilmember Hickman.
We've got to have a path forward. Peggy, please excuse me, but I'm sensitive what the planning commission is looking at, because this is an issue, but we need to do it right. What concerns me is the professional planners were not part of writing this. We've established that it would be a taking of some manner if we were to adopt as is. In order, I believe, we ask our planner to come back with something that is not a recommendation, that is not taking, or we simply don't include any of this section, which Weber County did not have any specific net development acreage part of the land of the subdivision ordinance, and be done with this. They didn't have it. The definition's in definition. We've adopted the same definition. So if we were to adopt this as is, we're gonna have to go back and change our own 112. The simplest thing is scratch the entire section and go to the rest of the ordinance. That's my opinion.
I would like to see what the planning commission could come up with. So Brian, I would like to see best practices of subdivisions. And let's take a look at that, if we can do that.
So, I wanna make sure I understand correctly, because you said planning commission, to send something back to the
To the
planning
planner.
commission. Okay, that's a different thing.
Yes.
And I will say this. Planners they don't set policy. So. I know, it's an easy thing to think, well, Brian was in their meetings and he approved this. That's not for him to approve. It would have been for, say, a council member, in land use to help, but we're all working. And we've been advised not to get involved in that kind of thing with the planning commission in terms of setting policy, but we are the policy setter here. It comes to us and that's where policy is set. Brian will tell the commission as well as the council whether something is legal, whether you can do that. He may get into the waters of giving his opinion, but usually planners don't. It's one of the things that made people so angry with Weber County planners, because they felt they were wishy-washy. But it's actually their job to not say, I advise you down zone, right? Because they're not elected. It's the council. And if there's not enough vote on the council to enact a taking, then you need to take this out. But then Brian would forward a new example without that information. But he doesn't set policy, so he's not going to say, oh, I don't think you should do this, that's not his job.
I didn't ask that. I asked for best practices. So what are the best practices for subdivisions in cities? And is that not a reasonable request?
No, it's what should have happened months ago.
But it didn't, and here we are, or maybe it did, I don't know.
No, I mean, I kept saying, these should have been written by a planner and then discussed by the planning commission.
And Peggy, I will chime in with you and say. That's why there's discussion of this rule of thumb. But also. If that's a standard practice, why do we have to write it? You know, that's what Weber County apparently felt. They didn't have to write it out explicitly. So it's more an industry practice of this is how we figure out developable area in a subdivision. Or this versus having to write it out. Because the reason it's written out was to address TDRs, but it doesn't do that.
I do work with you, sole reason.
Councilmember Hickman, I know, I'm sorry.
I'll defer to Glenn and then I'll make my comment.
So one thing I would caution on this, with your maximum size lots and stuff, you really need to look at the low moderate income. Part of the state law under 462. I would not go with the counties on this. I would rewrite your own. That has to do with the city. County got lucky. with this area up here because of the high amount of income. They have a low amount of income down in the valley, so you were able to keep building the high amount of income up here. By having larger lots, you're gonna have higher income. You can't go to the moderate under the new bill 462. So I would definitely go back through this and Brian really look at it before you pass this.
That would favor defining better the ability to transfer over into a higher density area to his point. You know, to be able to have more affordable housing.
May I ask them to clarify? I don't know if I understood that exactly.
You said,
I thought I was with you right up to the.
So, okay, sorry, with your population over 5,000 now, you fall under a whole nother part of the city, under the state code. And you have to go by with the new bill 462 on moderate income housing.
Mhm.
Now, if you guys are passing larger lots, I know you've got different areas where you'll have different subdivision, densities. All I caution you is take a real look at your size of city, because it's a massive one, and if you just have this and you don't have your 30% of people in that moderate income housing, you're with now against the state bill. So what I'm saying is really look at this lot size, because you're getting into realms of way overpriced and you're not going with the state law, and you can get hit under 462.
I'll defer that to you and then.
Oh, so are you suggesting smaller lots?
I'm not suggesting anything, I'm telling you
I'm
to
just clarifying.
put this to the side, let Brian go through it, make sure the law is in and your city is part of that 30% that is required, which is a large percentage of this valley, because now you are, majority in the state land wise. Okay, that is a massive piece. If you're not watching this, the state is coming down and the developers are behind it.
Yep.
Okay, so there you go.
So, Glenn, thank you. But that is something for the future, not today.
That is actually the past.
Well, noted, but
Yeah.
assuming that we're not out of compliance, that's something for the future. Clarity is kindness. I will not vote to pass this as is. I recommend we take it out, period. That section we just looked at. The reason I won't is because it's a taking. It begs analysis. We've asked him to analyze, but if we were to vote today, I will not vote as is on that. Clarity is kindness. I have stated where I'm coming from.
Yeah, I'm gonna just go back, I stepped down, one of the planning commissioner, they were very aware that they didn't use the term taking, but they understood what was happening here, and I think the idea behind this is the elephant in the room of the TDRs. And I don't know whether this is a Brian question or if this is a Portland question or what, but we need to look at this as far as if we're dealing with two separate things. We've got subdivisions that we're trying to work with, and we create a system for subdivisions, but then we have another area that also takes into account TDRs, to where the elephant in the room is where the TDR is being abused on slope sides and on, we don't even know where they're, but for the most part, we were thinking that they were being abused in areas that were unbuildable. And we need to decide, do we want to limit subdivisions in that same way? For instance, if you have a 12-acre lot and only the top front acre is buildable, so you can put 4 homes in those quarter acre, but they've got 11 acres that are on a slope, or they have a pond, or they have whatever these other definitions in here that limit them from trading. Do we want to allow that subdivision to go through if it's 100% able to build in those front acre or quarter acre lots? I'm just using this as an example, but then having another definition of TDR transfers to where that maybe wouldn't allow for 4 development transfers on that. Does that make sense?
Can I actually, before, I'm gonna throw you, except for I think you're conflating, because the cluster subdivision ordinance, it's not about transferring in. A cluster subdivision does talk about being able to take them off of various places and put them together. TDR is just taking completely separate density right from somewhere else and bringing it in, or taking your density to center.
No, I understand. That was my example.
But I thought, because you were talking about density off that 11 acres on the slope and bringing it down to their little patch of ground,
Right.
that would be under cluster. That's not about TDRs.
No, I know, but that allows for a subdivision to work in that situation. And the way that they're defining it in here, that wouldn't work because of the sensitive lands.
Okay, I just thought you were talking about TDRs, and so that's.
No, I'm just saying, that's why I'm separating it, Mayor, is to say, we have to have a subdivision ordinance.
Yes,
And then a TDR
yes,
is,
100%.
and maybe they're two separate.
They are
things.
very much two separate.
Okay, and I think that's where we're getting confused, and I don't think, I know this is where the planning commission was going with some of these definitions in here, to try to limit that ability to take those
Okay.
out. Yeah, and I think, so that, I don't think we're going fully against, I don't know if I would go as extreme as what Don's saying, is just scrap it. Maybe for the essence of time of us needing to get through this, because I think it's gonna take some time, that might be the most prudent thing to do right now, but. There's some really good stuff in here with what the planning commission's done. It's just weeding through it of what we wanna keep and what we wanna take out.
Councilor Hogan.
I move to table this, with the request that our planner. Examine this language and as well as the rest of the comments that are made throughout. And come back with some recommendations. Also based on industry standards, I think, Peggy mentioned, best practices. Also, further part of the motion is, well, a further reason to table it is just some really clarification that this is not a TDR driven decision or a TDR driven formula. Because we want to know what this drives, and especially separate if it's appropriate, the determination on TDR use.
I'm gonna ask that you restate your motion.
Table,
because
well, it was a motion to table,
Yeah.
but there were also some requests that are not part of the motion. It's a simple motion to table.
That's all, I want the motion.
To table consideration of this ordinance or this section of the ordinance?
I would say the entire ordinance agree.
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay, we can have discussion. It's Councilmember Hoagland has a motion to table. Ordinance 2026-33, this is the subdivision ordinance, and there's a second by Councilmember Hitchman. Did you wanna?
Well, we can vote on it.
Okay, yeah, this is an ordinance, so we'll go in order of ascending districts. So Councilmember Shaw.
Is tabling voting on an ordinance that requires roll call? This parliamentary.
It might not, but I like to be consistent in all my ordinance votes are roll call. So it's fine with me. Councilmember Shaw. Vote to table.
To table.
Councilmember David Baker.
Aye.
Councilmember Hogan.
Aye.
Councilmember Booth.
Aye.
Councilmember Knight. Agenda item 9, ordinance 2026-33 subdivisions will be tabled for further review.
My comment on that is I agree with what Kay says. I think we just have to have clarity on this. The idea in this is very, very well taken, and the planning commission I think did a fantastic job. But I really think it's two separate issues, and I think what they were trying to solve was an issue that probably shouldn't be in here, but brings up the point that it definitely needs to be addressed, the TDR issues. So I would hate to have something put into this that it would allow for what we're assuming is the abuse of TDRs moving forward.
All right, agenda item 10, ordinance 2026-34 standards, specifically the chapter 108-9 motor vehicle access. That had been tabled in a previous meeting to come back.
Where'd we end up? Just to table it?
I haven't heard any
I haven't
change to it.
I haven't either.
I will entertain a motion.
I thought, boy, I'd have to pull it up real quick so I can see it. Were there other comments or?
No.
Our discussion, that and I'm paraphrasing, it was written in the 60s or whenever, the 70s for gas stations. But there is some language in there that appears to apply to curbs and gutters and what have you. Brian, did you get any feedback from us on any specific questions to go forth and please answer back to us? I don't remember that you did. I
No,
think
I
we just got tired and tabled it.
Yeah.
We can take a motion to table.
Well, to be consistent with who I am and how I've approached all the land use codes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Nobody's argued to me that it's broken. it's old, certainly. I don't recall that the planning commission suggested significant changes,
I suggested adding electronic
And like-
charging stations.
which I would certainly be happy to do. And then we can get past this one, recognizing it was written, whatever, 50 years ago. Some of us weren't born there, some of us were,
Oh,
and just be done with this.
yeah. Kay has a comment in here about language though. Where it says shall be required. On the shared access between adjacent commercial.
Yeah, that was an issue.
Yes. Councilmember Hoagland.
Okay, I have comments to be followed by a motion. I think that adding the charging stations is really important, but they're not the same as gas stations and gas pumps. And I think it takes a little bit of research to write the appropriate language.
I can see that.
And also, the point that was just brought up in the comments that we needed clarification that I had written in there. So, given that this needs a little bit more work from our planner, I move to table this ordinance.
Can I offer a friendly amendment?
You bet you can have it.
That we direct the planner to come back with us with a draft that includes what? Electric vehicles and clarifies this merging of parking of driveways issue.
And such other improvements to this as he deems appropriate.
There we go.
I love that. Thank you.
So with their friendly amendment, you accept it?
Yes.
I second.
We have a motion on the table from Councilmember
Totally.
to table chapter 108-9 of ordinance 2026-34, sending it back to our planner to redraft and update this chapter. That motion was seconded by Councilmember Hickman. Councilmember Shaw, how do you go?
Aye.
Councilmember Dillon.
Aye.
Councilmember Hoagland.
Aye.
Booth.
Aye.
Aye. Sorry.
Back
I didn't-
here, we are gonna table that chapter for further recommendation by the expert. Agenda item 11, ordinance 2026-32. Manufacturing Valley Zone MV1.
The zombie zone that keeps coming back. Anybody remember where we ended up?
Yeah.
We were talking about 60%.
We were discussing, yeah, that was, I thought that was the only
Mhm.
issue.
Well,
Did we ask a question of the planner? I don't recall that we did.
I brought up the 50 feet.
The height?
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree with 50 feet. Too high, you saying?
yeah.
As we get into the CB zones, you will find that height again,
Which is approximately 4 stories.
yes. Just reminding you when we get there. I have argued that I think that's very high, especially when you, now granted, we are not bringing over the form-based zone, but when the form-based zone was written and talked about architectural styles, and a lot of it was historical. And I am not an expert in this, but my understanding was because without machinery, they only went a certain height, maybe three stories at the most. Historically. We've not adopted that zone, so all that is kind of removed anyway, but if we are still looking to do some sort of design standard for these buildings, and if it is going to be historical, you might want to think about that. But we're not, because there were certain areas that we talked about doing more Mount Modern, so.
This is just clarification, it's manufacturing.
Yes,
Okay.
the design standards for buildings and things. You'll notice a number of our commercial entities in those village areas, like in Old Eden with the blacksmith shop. And so, yeah, they specifically stuck to an architectural style that was written for that village.
Which is not 50 feet.
But that village is also supposed to be specifically, I think it's mining, I can't remember, but it's a specific architectural style that is very different. As we went into New Eden, it became more modern. However, again, we didn't adopt that zone anymore, so I don't know that if it applies, currently to new builds, it would still apply to those that are vested with developers.
So. I have to picture this, and 50 feet to me would be. You're driving down Washington, there's those apartments right there that are 4 stories.
Mhm.
It would be something like that. And, does that fit in with our rural?
Yeah, this is where policy comes into play, this is where this council gets in.
Is there currently a 4-story building in anywhere in the valley?
Currently, no, we have ones with vested rights to build them, we have hotels going, 3 50-foot tall hotels coming into the valley that are vested.
Water under the bridge. Okay, why not to? Brian.
If I might add, it does have an additional restriction that if the frontage or the frontage of the building can only be 40 feet tall.
Yeah.
In front of streets,
Yes.
which would limit to a tall 3-story building.
Right, and I do like that in a number of our zones, including with the commercial, where they're stated, if you're front facing on the street, I think in some of them it's 35 and then it goes higher. I was in Vegas and how tall 35 feet is when they were building the latest property, I think is it on St. Throwers, there's gonna be 3 that were 4 basic, now one down to CD2. I personally, when they built it, I thought, oh my goodness, there's no way, this must be over the max height of 35 feet, and I called the county to double check, and it was 32, they had 3 more feet they could go. And I was shocked.
Which is a good example, that's a
35 is,
visual thinker that
I
way.
mean, for me, maybe to a regular
Yeah.
commercial developer, they're like, no, that looks perfect. But to me, as just a plain resident, I was like, oh, I can no longer see the lake. You know,
And how high is the building? Did you say?
I was told 32 feet, and they're allowed to go 35.
We're talking Binston building.
Yes, yeah, so 50 feet, but he's saying it's not the front facing, so it is not a staggered thing, but you'll be surprised from a layperson how tall that is.
And also it's close to the street, so it.
But I think he just heard it was set back.
How far set back?
In manufacturing, hold on, I'm talking about,
The building after you were talking.
that's, yeah, so that zone has a 35 feet and then it goes up more when you go back in the street.
Right.
This one is, he said 40 feet on the street front, which is 5 higher, and then 55.
Right, and I guess what I'm saying is the closer it is to the street, the illusion is the taller it looks too, because.
Because you're
right there, it's like going through a canyon.
Yes.
I will play devil's advocate because we need to consider other perspectives. This is manufacturing zone. A 4th story of a manufacturing building. That is in an area that's tucked away, will give us more jobs. More tax, say possibly sales tax availability. And is good for business.
And it said, I looked that up, Kane, it says light manufacturing typically, which is 35 to 50 feet. So it does give allowance to go up to maybe feet, but it also, at the same time, 35, you can also limit it to that too.
Give me examples of light manufacturing.
Are they in
Do the thing, give you like an example.
Well,
We're all in here.
What's allowed is in the ordinance.
Very well.
Well, there's a lot of things that are allowed in this ordinance. There's very few that are actually there. Distillery,
Recreation.
that's the only thing that's making anything that I can think of down there. The rest of them are, they're making,
Passive use.
yeah, yeah, but they're not making anything. They're
No, I
they're
understand.
moving stuff around.
Right.
And what they're making hard bodies and HEL and young minds at the daycare, but
Upholstery.
What would be manufactured?
you know.
There's a lot.
There's all kinds of things we're allowing.
From veterinarian, small grooming, it's not manufacturing, but
I know.
Like,
carpenter, cabinet shop. Maintenance services,
What I,
conference, I mean, they're not manufacturing.
is there, like, does it say assembly, you know, that's the classic light manufacturing, an assembly plant that. puts together cell phones. Does other.
There's a lot of not alloweds in our draft. Sorry for talking with my glasses in my mouth. What's allowed? Building material yard, fertilizer, sales and something yard, gas station, convenience store, machine shops, schools, research and development. Can't do a motion picture studio.
Which I like that it's called motion pictures.
That is true.
Metalworking, yes. Medical research facility, no. I,
You know,
we've spent a lot of time on this sucker.
Yeah.
I think it comes down to us deciding on a height and deciding on the
and the.
percentage.
I agree.
Yeah, it has.
I agree.
Yeah.
Those are the only two, and I just think we need to go in.
It's a policy. What do you guys want to do?
I definitely think 80% was way too much for the surface area. What I researched shows 40 to 60% in a rural area, the manufacturing zone. I'm fine rolling to 60% based off the size of the lots down there. I don't think that's going to be crazy big in that area. And then on heights, I think 40 feet should be maximum in that area. I was down there the other day kind of looking at it, and I thought if someone in the distillery, if someone did lot just to the south of it, put a 50-foot building right in front, that would be a great look.
Just a clarification, I'm confused over here, is right across the street from the distillery, the manufacturing zone.
Distilleries
There's
are
7 lots right there, 7 NB1 lots.
It's been mixed, it's, so for it is the zone that it's in, but we were counting allowed commercial businesses there. And that has caused some controversy because there have been businesses that don't like what's going on because they think they're in a commercial zone and in fact they're in a manufacturing zone.
Yeah.
So it's been a little bit mix and match, but technically the zone is
It's
manufacturing.
surrounded by CB2, okay,
Yes.
also, so.
But it blended, some of those businesses think they're in commercial and they're not.
They're in manufacturing. What is 40 feet? How many? What is the standard 3-story building, Brian?
35 to 40 feet, yeah.
To 40. I'm okay with 40. I'm okay with 60.
I am 35, but. Give you that 5 feet.
Are you saying 40 is good for street front? Or are you saying 35 on the street front, 40 behind? What are you thinking?
I hadn't even thought about that. That's a part of it, what you brought up, so.
Well, if we look solely at what's currently in B1, there's very little street front.
Mhm.
There is street front, but the long axes all go off versus the long axes are not along the street, the short axis of the lots, I think.
I think the shape of all of these.
I don't care. I want to just be done with this one. 35 and 40, 40, 40. I don't care. I don't have an opinion.
I like 60.
60 what?
60 feet?
60%, 60%.
No, 60% of the coverage and 40.
I was like, huh?
60% coverage, that was the big one for me, the coverage by buildings the maximum, 60% coverage. And it does slow down a little bit, so I'm okay with 40 feet.
I hear 3, let's say 40.
Okay.
And you're welcome to adjust. Okay, let's call for a motion. Good one.
I move we approve ordinance.
Sorry.
Was there any change to the height on for the frontage of the building?
No.
Wait.
Well, I thought we said 40.
I heard a maximum height of 40 feet. Is there, but I also heard some discussion about lowering the height if it fronted on the street. Is 40, are you good with 40 feet everywhere? Or do you want
To be considered.
40 in the back? 30 in the front?
Manufacturing, not real. I don't know what manufacturing, what were your heights? 40 to?
You said 35 to 50.
Now
35 to 40
this
is
is
what it's
fronting a street that is planned to be 80 feet or wider, so this is not just a local street. This would be a large main thoroughfare.
Right.
Which
Oh, then
is not where they are.
35.
It's not what,
It's not where they are currently, but maybe increase in the future.
Then I think we stay consistent, do 35 and then 40. For building height not on the street.
That's 2. So now the other one had two as well.
I agree.
Right, that's your part of the two.
Okay.
So we need one more.
I just, though, my only question on that is, the manufacturing type building that's being built down there. Isn't the architectural type buildings that you're gonna see in some of the other areas that have those restrictions on them. That some of them are like, just the steel buildings that would be hard to just put 35 feet and then beyond it, put 40 feet. It's just a matter of, and I have no idea how to do those, but it just visually thinking about buildings that are down there, doing a 35-40 architecturally on a manufacturing is different than what you would do on a street front over by Eden Crossing.
Can I just ask, Brian, didn't you state that what it currently was or is 40 up front and 50 behind?
Correct, yeah.
So right now,
Okay.
it has a step.
Alright, then I'm fine doing it in that way, yeah, that's the way that it's done, 35 and 40. I'm fine too.
So that's 30, sorry, that's 30, sorry, I was zoning out. Alright, anyone wanna make a motion?
I motion that we adopt ordinance 2026-32. Manufacturing Valley Zone. Just for clarification, we're talking 60% and 35-40.
It's your motion,
That's what I motion, that's what I'm,
so to make those changes.
yes.
I second it.
We have a motion on the table from Councilmember Shaw to adopt ordinance 2026-32 manufacturing zone with the edits of a maximum of 60% area and 35 feet street front and 40 behind. And my second is amending.
We forgot to talk about outdoor storage. Did we need to add that?
Was it not written in, Brian?
Was it in there?
Or storage, I believe, is included.
Okay.
Sorry, okay, we have a
We already
motion.
made that change, okay?
Yes.
It is permitted, just permitted. Yes.
Sorry, the motion has been
There's
subtracted.
no on that.
Go down to outdoor storage, please, Brian.
Okay, for formality, the motion has been retracted to allow for discussion on outdoor storage.
Okay.
And it's story.
Got it, all right.
Sorry.
My bad. Hold on.
Because now I'd like to know. We have a policy right now in the valley that there is no outdoor storage. Did we just amend that policy?
Yes, we did.
We've done that, we've done that.
And
In the MV1 area.
can I, right, I understand. Would you like to explain for the record what you are now allowing? Cause
Read it right up there.
I'm trying to get there where. Trying to.
It's all the way down by Shirley Freeman's comment.
Because this has been a pretty popular thing with residents. Sure, there we go, yeah, for it.
It's on the screen.
I know, I can't see that far, hold on. That's okay.
Just keep on the finish there.
Well, here we go, nope, I don't know, okay, I'm gonna try to see that far. Outdoor storage areas shall be fully screened from view, okay, that's what I wanna make sure of. From public right of way, adjacent properties, screening shall consist of a combination of solid fencing, walls, landscape beams. Or dense vegetation sufficient to obscure storage materials at all times. So solid fencing, does that include? I don't know the materials they use, but sometimes people put essentially like not quite a chain link fence, but then they put some sort of
Yeah, the plastic slatting
yeah,
through the,
that-
yeah,
that's-
that's typically considered an opaque complete screen.
okay, so that would be solid fence.
Yes, that would be a solid fence.
Okay, so
Go ahead.
so the change here, and I wanna be clear because this has been a long-standing thing in our valley, and there are some people that are passionate about it, is that we would enable outdoor storage as long as it is screened off from view.
In the manufacturing zone.
In the, okay.
Yes.
Protection zone, okay,
And the only thing that I came up with when I researched this a little bit, Brian, is that we don't have here is fence height. Or if that definition is clear enough to say where it says screen from view from public rights of way, if that's clear enough, and then also height of what you're storing. Was another issue that I saw that we may want to put in.
Yeah, that's something that I just was going to mention, is that typically there is a height requirement
Yeah,
of at least a minimum of 6 feet, but yeah. If
well,
you're storing something above that's taller than 6 feet, you may want to consider raising the fence for one. It's
Well,
not always done, but.
yeah. And on this, as far as what I researched on it, it was 6 to 8 feet for the fence height, and then 12 to 18 feet for the height of the whatever you're storing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yes.
And we were talking to Sherry about listing some things that cannot be stored. You know, combustible things, hazardous waste. I mean, for
You already
example.
have limits on hazardous materials.
Right, but the other things that could heat up and blow up. Batteries, you don't want to like in,
Pallet storage is a concern.
Pallet storage.
Pests and-
yeah,
So it sounds like this needs to be. Amended.
We'll go up a little bit, does it not say that on there? Recreational vehicle storage?
that's indoor.
Yeah, it's.
Well, so we allow indoor storage in that zone, but yeah, and in Weaver County, so they did allow outdoor storage in other manufacturing areas outside of the valley, but they did not
Right.
include these special regulations on screening and height
Outside of that, like.
outside of the valley.
Right, I think the screening, if you're gonna allow outdoor storage, which a lot of residents feel strongly about not having here. I'm not against it, but screening, I think is an absolute must. To Councilmember Booth's point, state what that is, because if I put a knee-high fencing around my property. If there aren't anything saying it needs to be higher, you can't. The state, especially because it's storage, a lot of people are store, I mean. All kinds of stuff, really. So that's why I'm saying it needs to be adjusted, also that fencing height, I think is an important addition. Councilmember, is that raising,
This is a raised hand.
okay,
I'm just,
I don't know if it's true.
every time you look through this, I'm looking right now at what is permitted, not permitted manufacturing. And food product manufacturing, manufacturing of food products which may include use of potentially hazardous chemicals, incidental and accessory to the processing of food on site. That says,
I don't know.
it may include the use of potentially, that seems, why would you not want food product manufacturing in a manufacturing zone? And then separately regulate, you know, like you can't use formaldehyde when you're making your Twinkies. And even try to regulate, besides it's being a food hazard, but
Sorry.
this would be like,
Sorry.
but there's something, but this would be permanent place for a food manufacturing plant. Dang it,
Would it?
Kate Oakland's jams and jellies. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So you're saying we need to adjust that a little bit to add
I
more to
made
it?
it, yeah, permitted, it's a no, it's not.
Where's that at?
It's on bottom, page 7.
See, we thought you had.
And beyond, yeah, it's 7, so I'm sorry, but
No, I mean, listen, it's open right now.
I want people to be able to have some light manufacturing. And tasting room in that.
Isn't bakeries on there that is permitted?
Mhm.
Bakeries are,
But
you're saying even more.
a food manufacturing plant, you know, they may be making yogurts or.
Well, meat products, like smoking meats is not allowed though.
Planning commission had a debate on that one,
Yeah,
the smell of it.
that's not, oh,
But those changes are, the planning commission did also not propose any changes.
Right, as I said.
on the.
These were
Yeah.
on. Yeah.
Just a gentle reminder that we don't make sales tax on manufactured goods necessarily. You get sales tax when it is sold in a retail establishment.
Oh, I watched the law and it.
Right? But we get people working and, but there are lots of retail going on there right now. Distilleries retail, ATL's retail. So let's be done with this one.
Understood,
Let's be done.
understood, but.
So are we,
There's gonna come.
all right, are we gonna do outdoor storage, yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Have we written it the way we want
Just
it?
made the changes, look at it, see.
Yep.
What if you put in for that
Six feet and 18 feet.
I have a suggestion in the interest of advancing commerce in the valley. That is not harmful. Can we just go walk through again the permitted uses?
Okay, we've agreed to outdoor storage, yes or no?
Yes,
Yes.
suggest the screening needed to be amended, it sounds like it did.
There we go. And we've agreed to 40 feet and 60%, yes or no?
Hold on, with outdoor storage, there was also a question about combustible storage.
And Brian pointed out there's separate restrictions elsewhere about,
Toxic chemicals, he did not say it about combustible storage.
all right,
Or pallets, will you work all those things in there that were not considered safe?
screening.
Is there any other outdoor storage use that is outside of recreational type vehicles?
But
We
the second we say this, unless we constrain it, people can put whatever the heck they want to. Just
there are already property owners that keep materials, construction materials, and other stuff.
we had a resident who came to us with a suggestion to make money by having a place to store boats and things. But the second, I'm not against that, but by stating you can do, that means they can do whatever they want unless we say they can't.
That's correct.
So that's why I'm saying, do we need to specify being recreational outdoor storage? What else falls outside of that people are gonna wanna store outdoor that we would be fine with? I would think recreational type vehicles is a pretty good definition of that, no?
Go up one, please, Brian.
Anything they don't want in their driveway. There's.
Right there, right there, we're saying you can create one for indoor storage of recreational vehicles, because that's what we were counting
Add
up.
that to this second part there, outdoor storage of recreational vehicles. Would that not clear it up?
Well, that would.
Is there any more that we think that the residents are gonna wanna store outdoors?
Boats. Boats.
Well, that's a recreational vehicle.
My second.
Under city definitions, a recreational vehicle and boat are separate, but
No,
we can do.
yeah, whatever,
Someone has a second part, recreational vehicles and boats.
yeah,
Or just.
trailers, sure. I think those types of things.
Make it conditional, and they have to come in and ask for permission, you can share it down or not.
I was thinking that might be the way to go, so we can.
Yeah, I'll raise my hand. So if what we want to allow is a business or businesses that allow storage of trailers, recreational vehicles and boats, whatever that means, indoor or outdoor, then we should so state. What we've stated right now is you can put anything you want there in that outdoor facility.
We need to state it for sure, and I would say recreational vehicles and all that apply that are like that, i.e. boats. Trailers. Vintage cars, that what you said, Kane?
I really just want those indoors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The second part, just say you have a second car.
Or RVs.
Yeah, I mean, someone who has a second home here may wanna store their vehicle, they have a second home, storage vehicle.
What do you want to say, Chad? Put the language up
Recreational
there.
vehicles and everything that applies under that, if boats aren't part of that, you gotta have boats in here. And I would say trailers also.
Can you put that in your plan?
Brian, what trailers are you talking about?
Flatbed trailers,
Okay.
recreational vehicles would be camping trailers.
Camping trailer.
Well, are they, Brian, under the definition?
I believe so, yeah.
As long as they are.
But again, we have height restrictions, not right, too, so you can't take your. Which I think is smart.
It does that height restriction? Probably not. What did we say? It was 35 and 40.
35 feet.
35.
40.
I'm just wondering these days with these super RVs and these
They're not.
large boats, are they any of them above that?
I know 18 feet.
Just
they've got-
sure, I don't own any of these vehicles.
They've gotta be able to drive under an interstate freeway overpass.
Okay,
That's
got it.
about 14 feet.
Okay, thank you. Thank
Oh,
you.
well, you've seen those videos where they don't make it.
Yeah.
Alright, just wanna make sure. Well, the boat's gonna be on a trailer anyway, so that adds it.
Chad, make a motion.
Are we there?
Was there something?
I wanted to look through the uses, because as we said, some of these are dated. Like motion picture stuff, and so could we put on the screen just the list of uses and go through it to make sure we're not foolishly prohibiting some kind of manufacturing use that might be beneficial?
We can I just state this, it is 11:21. And 3 at this table have a meeting in Ogden following this, which this meeting ends at noon, and we can extend a little bit, but we have a meeting in Ogden to get to for finance purposes, and we could also table, send it back, and everybody review these uses and everything and come back, then move forward, or we could just knock this out and save everything else for the day too. You guys make that decision.
I would like to table, because we're already tabling 1 or 2.
We have 2.
And I would really appreciate Brian taking another walk down memory lane and going through this again and tightening it up. And also look, I just highlighted those prohibited uses that seem to me to be too restrictive. So
There's a motion to table. Is there?
I second.
Okay, can we discuss?
Yes.
Yes, we can. I'm sorry.
Councilmember Shaw.
Oh. I think we're on it. I would like to see us just go through it. And we're all together, maybe we can, I'll talk about those.
Okay, if there's a motion and a second, it doesn't have to get enough votes to pass, but so it sounds like one is not, you'd like to knock it out, but.
I'll speak in support of my motion, because that's direction I was headed for initially, but we're already having things tabled. So we can put our comments here and that. And I'd like to get to another one, because the next one may need to have a little bit more work to get my drift. I'm going for volume now, because already our planner is gonna have to take a second look at a number of these. And if that might be in the next 1 or 2 that we can discuss with everything time.
I guess to your point, we're not gonna be lifting this one.
Right,
Before these other ones anyways, right? So even if we go back to it, they're gonna still all be lifted at the same time before the July section.
oh yeah,
Right,
okay,
so I guess that, yeah, I agree with that,
But there will be no more rolling back right away.
right. That makes sense to you, so.
It does, it
Might
does,
be
but
better to,
I'm just
back it
like,
a little
our
bit.
mind on this, we're doing it.
It's
but I do think Kate brings up a good point, that there might be some restrictions in there that aren't needed.
To the point of, if we don't think we're gonna be able to get through fully another one in the next 40 minutes, we could finish this one in the 40 minutes and then move forward with the other ones clean and free. That's the difference.
are you arguing against my?
I am not, this is discussion and I'm clarifying,
Yeah, I'm just-
but there is a motion on the table and you can call the question and we can just see what it votes at.
And I would like to call the question.
Okay, so there's a motion on the table to table this manufacturing zone ordinance 32. To send it back to planning to review and discuss at a later date. That was seconded, it was from Councilmember Hutton and seconded from Councilmember Hickman. We're gonna go in ascending order, Councilmember Shaw.
Okay.
Councilmember Dean
To table?
to table. That's a yay vote from Councilmember Dean Baker, Councilmember Hutton.
Yes.
Councilmember Booth?
Aye.
Aye.
Well, then, there we go. Okay, so we are tabling ordinance manufacturing zone, and it is a 4-1 vote with Councilmember Shaw wishing to complete today.
Yeah, I honor your desire there, wouldn't I understand.
I don't think we're gonna complete the other one.
I don't know. Okay, so I'm going to put it to the council to decide. We've got 3 ordinances left. We have less than 40 minutes. CB2, CBR1, and manufacturing housing zone. Is there one you wish to discuss before the others? Is there one you think you can finish in?
Manufacturing housing issue.
You'd like to do, that's 2 for manufacturing housing.
I'm okay with that.
So that's 3 to adjust agenda items 12 and 13 to go behind agenda 14, which is residential manufacturing housing zone, so we can pull that up.
There's really only one area for that, right?
Yeah, Vicky's next to Chris's. That's the only one that exists right now.
Right, this is a zone people could ask to rezone areas into.
And the intent is to create a subdivision of of manufactured homes. Manufactured homes as an individual use on property are allowed anywhere residential uses are. However, if you want to create a specific mobile home park or trailer park, this is the
zone.
that's used to create that.
This is the
You know, I would just say it's manufactured homes, not mobile.
I was gonna say there's a distinction there.
That's true. That's true.
That's okay.
Well, mobile homes are manufactured, but
All homes are required to be on foundation hooked to utilities.
so actual wheels off.
Wheels off,
Okay, so not covered with anything that makes it look like the wheels are off, actual wheels off.
actually wheels off,
No.
permanently connected to services.
Okay. Councilmember Shaw.
Brian, just a question for Brian, this would, I think, fit in with our moderate housing.
Yeah.
Allowing for this type of development, would absolutely create, or be a tool to allow for additional affordable housing options here. One of the other challenges with this, however, is that the property that is currently zoned, RMH 1-6, the amount of land that is zoned for this use is too small to meet the requirements for this zone ordinance as currently written, so it's about 2.5 acres of currently zoned property, but the minimum requirement is 4 acres to do a development.
Does that just make them non-conforming, they can still
It
do
makes
it,
them non-conforming,
but it's future people have to have
but
it,
yeah, future development.
okay. Alright, anybody have anything in here they need to adjust or change, or is it to be adopted as is?
I didn't have any comment.
I didn't either.
I think we can.
That's what Weber County had. Good to go.
Yeah, I didn't see.
I'll take a motion.
I move to adopt ordinance 2026-39, residential manufactured housing zone, RMH 1-6.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion to adopt from Councilmember Hoagland and a second from Councilmember Hickman. Starting in ascending order, Councilmember Shaw.
Aye.
Councilmember Dooley Baker.
Aye.
Councilmember Hoagland.
Aye.
Councilmember Booth.
Aye.
Councilmember Hickman.
Aye.
Unanimously, 5-0. Ordinance 2026-39 residential manufacturing housing zone is adopted. All right, next up, look out, CD2 or CDR1? Any takers?
Let me say, okay.
All right, let's go with CV2. We have actually rezoned people into CV2, so we should take a good look at it.
CV2.
This is your commercial area, specifically commercial, not commercial and residential.
And there seems to be located around walkable village centers. And not sprawling along the highways and thoroughfares. Okay.
Yes, we have things in the general plan that talk about no sprawl, no, sprawl. So I will say that in the history of our land use in the valley, which has been under Weber County, there has been a progression of zoning changes, and one of those is with these commercial zones, such as, CB1, which no longer exists, got revised into CB2, which stayed, CBR1 was the initial plan that was supposed to start building these villages, which then they replaced with form-based, and we might replace with village or something to that effect, I don't know, but that was the progression of these types of zones. So they fall in line with the idea of a village, but they didn't quite hit the mark, and so then other zones came to replace them. We have taken those replacement zones out and we're back to the originals.
Okay.
So a number of things were taken out of purpose and intent. Looks like some of it is Weaver County stuff, no, not a big deal, CV1, that's the history.
I have a suggestion, I'm finding again, as I go through this for the X number of time, I'm really re-examining this, what the chart of permitted, the land use table, I guess it's called. And it's good to, I think collectively we should go there and raise questions, does this now make sense? I'm looking at something that says animal hospital. And it has a new designation, it's a P, but also a D, I don't understand what that means, is that a typo?
Might be a typo.
Yeah.
Figure out who put that in here.
Okay, it's just odd, it's a typo. And maybe that was to me, depends. No, it should,
No, I think it's.
conditional is just fine.
I
Yeah.
think the planning commission would probably.
Okay, now, at the bottom of that page, athletic and sporting goods store. Man, is that saying we wouldn't allow a ski sale shop there? I think what they were trying to do there is prohibit the sale or repair of motor vehicles or motors. I suggest we make it just athletic and sporting goods store permitted, and then strike the rest of that statement.
On the above part,
Yeah,
the one right above it, that isn't it?
Yeah.
I was, you put
Operational.
it's duplicate. Yeah, it's duplicate.
Wait, but don't we
And
have
they're
motor
contradictory.
vehicle repair shops in a commercial area?
Mhm.
that is permitted, the one right above it.
Isn't that funny? Well, they exclude sale or repair of motor vehicles, motorboats or motors.
And then down below they.
That is really sad.
So further down, the planning commission created a new category of motor vehicle repair and maintenance that includes automobiles, ATVs, boats, all of those things, because they had individually been listed
Okay,
as uses. However, the planning commission in all cases removed sales of vehicles. So, but in this case, yeah, it looks like we have two almost duplicate
Yeah.
entries for athletic recreational equipment and sporting goods. Exclude, well, we've got the one that excludes sale or repair of motor vehicles and one that includes it. Weaver County permitted permitted athletic recreational equipment and sporting goods without the motor vehicle stuff in the CD2, but did not permit athletics and sporting goods with the motor vehicle.
well, it's duplicative, you know.
And this is because this was a large chart that had multiple commercial
Yeah.
uses that we condensed down to one column, and so there are a few that just aren't gonna quite
Okay,
make sense out of context.
I just deleted that because it's duplicative
Yeah.
and confusing.
I'm not seeing, and I'm sure maybe I'm just not scrolling down enough, but I'm not seeing where it allows those motor vehicle things, but it specifically says motorcycle, motor scooter, sales and service, no. Motor boat sales and service, no. If
Yeah,
they don't want sales, that might be one thing, but then you're saying that somewhere else it says they can service them?
Yeah, he's on it right now.
It's general vehicle service and repair, including automobiles, boats, snowmobiles, ATVs.
So that was their
That was-
fix to that issue.
Yeah, that was their attempt to simplify and clarify.
Oh, I don't know where my question would go.
Well, but then there's a separate item that say, no, you may not service a motorcycle, you may not service a boat, and then it says, but you can. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you go first, then me.
Sorry, I thought this was, yes.
On page 3, I'm trying to figure out if that is C or N, and that's what
Right.
Kay asked as well, but it says boat sales and service, including watercraft rentals as an accessory to boat sales and service.
So Tia's question begs my point. The planning commission is suggesting no sales of vehicles, boats, snow machines, etc. Separately, at the bottom creates a general vehicle service and repair for all the above. That's their that's the way they've proposed to go. You cannot sell, but you can serve. And the serve is what they've added down.
It doesn't make sense.
My question of, and there's not an answer from them, is why not sales? I personally think it is, I don't know why they suggest that. I think we would want to allow the opportunity for a business to say, hey, I can make money out there by selling, I don't know, skidoos or something, versus saying you can't. So, we don't have an answer to the question. We don't have anything in here on why the planning commission says no. I think we should say yes and let the market decide whether or not it's ever viable to do it. Period.
So why change what was in there in the first place?
Well, I can't speak to their rationale, but that's how I interpret what they've done.
I mean, we there, put it in, it seems to me below. I don't
But
get,
I understand that they're wanting to take up sales, and then they wrote something to include service, but through this, they are still left in, no, you may not sell and service. So it's very confusing.
I feel your pain.
I'm
I
just
get
saying.
confused as well.
If you wanna take that, then take out all the individuals, you
Right.
may not sell or service a motorcycle, you may not sell or service a boat, just have it be, you may not sell. And then separately, you may service these things, but you have told them, no, they may not service, and then said you may service.
They actually did scratch out all of automobile
If
repair
you go down, motorcycles and motorboats
Right.
are still in there,
as a no.
as a no
Right.
to service.
Agreed. We need to fix this.
That's my point.
We need to fix this. And here we are making sausage.
Yeah.
That's my point.
I agree.
I'm all in on no sales up here, no big car lots, no big boat.
Although we haven't approved used car lot in a previous, do we? Yeah, we had that debate. We had debate. Am I the one that remembers debating the used car lot? You were in on it.
Well, the debate was how many spots they had to provide at a used car lot.
And it stayed there.
Yes, it
I'm
did.
just
Yes, it
saying.
did.
But our parking wasn't approved. But I don't think we're so close to urban centers that have all that. I don't think looking like, where's that section as you drive?
I get you, but
it's Wall Avenue.
But do you understand that, so for example, the blacksmith shop, really cute, done, and he had all these antique cars in there, if he ever wanted to sell one of his antique cars, he would not be able to. And that is, you could do boutique, you could do custom motorcycles in a really cute shop, but you cannot sell them because it says.
It doesn't say.
It doesn't have to be, it's a large.
It says you cannot, as a business, sell cars.
Business he cannot.
I think you put it for sale by owner service, the way that they do company parking, but have a business, you couldn't.
Actually, I think that you can't park it at the sign says.
If I may chime in, the nature of this zone is frankly cute shops that you can have and businesses that you have around a sidewalk it's not simply, commercial per se. So I'm fine with eliminating car lots in repair shops for motor vehicles. I think there's another place for that, it could be CV, whatever.
We have, hold on, we do have, the planner has his hand up and then Hickman there.
I did just want to add that one of the intents of the planning commission, as Councilmember Hoagland has mentioned, is this CV2 is intended to create a smaller neighborhood scale commercial. The planning commission was not completely opposed to many of the uses that they restricted that were currently written into this zone. However, they felt like there needed to be an additional zoning ordinance at some point with space for these more intensive uses that were not neighborhood scale, maybe like what we would, I don't know, in sometimes in communities is called highway commercial or a higher. The idea that, no, we don't want department stores or supermarkets or even the outdoor, self-storage units, things like that. It's not that we don't want them in the valley at all, it's that we don't want them in the CV2
Yeah.
area. The problem is there is no alternative zone at this time to move those uses to.
Different issue,
Can I
yes.
But the general plan does stipulate no big box stores in the back.
Well, I mean, big box, a department store may or may not be a big box store. A supermarket may or may not be a big box store. I mean, is Lee's Market a super, sorry, not Lee's, but is the
Yeah.
Valley Market, is that a supermarket? Well, because it's not allowed in the CV2 zone. Under the planning commission's recommendation, but it might be allowed in an addition, you know, again, now we're starting to get into kind of the nuances of the definitions. And that's why they really struggled with this list of uses because it's so almost painfully exquisite in detail in ways that it does not need to be. And at some point, we ought to condense many of these uses down into broader categories that are allowed or not allowed. But we didn't feel like it was the time to spend refining that at this point.
Can I ask my colleagues?
Sorry, Councilman Hickman has finished first.
Is there a square foot minimum or maximum associated with any parcel in this zone? I cannot find one.
In terms of the building square footage,
The lot size and the building size. The building, I see 60% of lot, but I don't see have we prescribed you've got to have an acre since it's CV1 or 2 acres, sorry, since it's CV2? Is there any prescription on lot size? I don't find one, but that's why I'm asking you.
While you're looking, I'm gonna ask my colleagues here. Is there any consensus that we shouldn't have car sales, motor vehicle sales or repair in this type of zone?
I do not agree.
I didn't understand. You don't agree that we should not?
That is correct. It's a double negative.
Car lot.
No, I do not, that is different than whether or not we should allow it. Whether or not, my opinion on whether or not there should be one is different than, do we want to enable business out here and let the market define whether or not it's viable? Which is why I asked the question about acreage. I can see a boutique motorcycle shop. I can see a boutique skidoo shop since we have Pineview. Would I like to see Young's Automobiles out here? No. But what I'd like to do versus what we need to do for economic activity are two different things. And I think we should have the ability to repair some things out here. We already allow it. There's a car repair shop.
Very helpful.
And what zone is it?
So there's a difference between like and what we should do for economic development.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm just to answer my question. Who wants to have this ordinance allow car sales, motor vehicle sales and repair?
I don't have a vote here, but I do get to advise. I would say as a boutique.
Yeah, and I'm going
I
back,
would take a distinguish.
Would you make it conditional? I have not heard maybe conditional, okay.
I would make it conditional and like Dawn says, let the market drive it. We haven't had one up here. There's a reason. You have a whole market not very far away.
We do have residents who make custom vehicles.
Right.
Now, they have not attempted to create a commercial brick and mortar shop here, but they make commercial vehicles. I could see that happening. I could see a place for it. We are a recreation destination, and especially in our general plan, we talk about creating that being an economic driver of this city is recreation. Maybe we become where the go-to hottest place to get your latest dirt bike or whatever. Who knows? But I would put a disclaimer for that it be boutique and not large lots. That's just me. That would be my distinction.
So can we get some straw ballot here about making that car lot and repair motor vehicle, whatever, conditional?
I don't know if I want it even boutique-ish, because in the CV zone, think about where that is over in Eden. It's just right around the school, it's around
Well, we just made the 3 lots by Carlos and Harley's CB2. We just made part of Eden Crossing, not Eden Crossing. Yeah, no, the land.
Eden Crossing is all now CB2.
Right, yeah, so.
Yeah, so I don't know, that's just right, I don't know, if this.
I'm not
they
on
do
that.
that.
Right. That, she did that, yes.
I will express my opinion as I do. I think we should not exclude potential economic activity. I think a conditional of boutique is appropriate. There are none out here for a reason, because you're not gonna make money unless it's a boutique. And we already allow servicing of stuff. Why would we say to the owner of the car repair shop that he can't do his job? So we need to enable servicing of automobiles, motorcycles, boats, snow machines, those things.
In all fairness, he would be able to continue.
Well,
But
but my point is, we're already allowing it. Why would we say for future you can't? Then we have no competition. My opinion has been expressed.
Is the current vehicle replaced in CD2?
Yes.
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 Would be Sterling? Or-
Well, whatever he is now, he's changed.
it's been changed a couple of times.
Eden Automotive.
Yep.
You know.
I agree with the definition that's been brought by the mayor and by Don. So I think a boutique types place like that, I think your example of the one over in blacksmith shop area is a perfect example. Someone who's got a passion for that and building up vehicles and has a boutique stylish little place like that could draw the right crowd up here. And I agree that a young automotive that has 50 acres somewhere isn't what we want. And again, I think the market will dictate that, but I think the market could dictate a boutique type shop like that.
It has to be defined. Gotta have credit.
Can we,
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you on that, but I think the boutique does kind of define that up front, but
can we say, Brian, can we say boutique sales and or repairs? I would still like it to be conditional, but does boutique language do enough to define the nature of that possible use?
Yeah, I'm not sure I guess the word boutique, I mean, I understand that we would get that, it's just a matter of using the right, you know. I would. Custom vehicle. Modifications.
Either way, it's gonna need definitions, because if you're making a conditional, you have to define what the conditions are that need to be met. Anything that's not defined, you can't enforce, so you need to have some sort of parameters no matter what. My suggestion here, though, is to separate sales from service. Either way, I just think there's discussion of not wanting sales. People have not been saying they don't want service, just separate those two and then.
Oh, wait, almost opposite of that.
I think the easiest way to limit it would be to restrict the number of vehicles that could be for sale at one time.
I will say that the condition for service right now, I remember, I haven't looked at it recently, but I remember there being a discussion of. It limits what they can do because they can't have cars all over the place that are waiting to be serviced. So there's certain things that get put into these conditional uses that need to be met. And that's for the service alone, so for sales, it would be just do the same thing.
Limit the cars, that could be on the lot.
You can condition whatever you want.
So, let me, in the specialty, maybe specialty?
Either way, boutique, specialty, custom, all of it should just get a definition.
Yeah.
Just like we went through this thing where, Form Bay talked about small villages, but what does small mean?
Yeah.
So you're better off, what's your line? Be specific and you're terrific.
Be specific and you'll be terrific.
The more you define, the more you can, because if it's not written down, you cannot enforce. The land use laws are they're excellent in Utah for the property owner. This is a good thing, but if you wanna limit, you better write it down.
It's kind of, yeah, I think we're heading towards tabling in terms of about unique, unless you wanna develop a definition right here. Unique specialty auto sales in repair.
I agree with Janet that they should separate it.
Councilmember Hick, I understand it.
Sales are not service, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with Brian to figure out what boutique means, put a number on it. I would not limit to auto, I would have all these motorized things and let the market determine whether or not somebody can make sales out here, and if they can, we'll get or sales taxes out of it. But keep it small, boutique, only have 20 cars, whatever it is, let him figure it out and come back to us.
I agree that, and that it be extended to recreation. If we are trying to be a recreation destination,
That's
recreation,
I'm here to buy your ski
yeah.
or whatever they're called on the Pine View.
Or whatever the new hip thing is that we haven't figured out yet.
I
Right.
don't know, but
Hovercrest.
shopping
Yeah,
around.
the odds of anybody doing it are small, because it's never gonna pencil out, but
But
Okay,
don't limit our economic development, please.
since,
We need money.
since,
Yeah.
no,
Oh,
no,
so much.
since we also maybe tabling this, it sounds as though, can we let's look at the other uses just to see if we wanna do some tweaking. And in the interest of promoting free enterprise, and
But again, I think what Brian said about making it a more generic or more. I don't know, seems to be Staples.
Well, the question is, how long do you wanna take to do that? That was the question
Yeah.
the planning commission
Yeah.
went into, so if we want, I mean. Legally, I guess, you know, you still have 6 more weeks to do it, but,
No matter what, we have things still coming to us.
absolutely.
So no matter what, nothing is being rolled back until, what was the date? May, what's the next hearing? And then we need a week after that, right?
26.
So early June.
Mhm.
Yeah, is this coming week, early June, and so no matter what, we have, say, 2 weeks.
Mhm.
maybe, I had a question on the table, can we go through this and just check these uses?
We've got 8 minutes left.
Let's do it.
And we got some comments.
Yes,
Page 2, please.
We've got 6 minutes.
yes,
Okay, I have one example to call up.
yes.
I'm looking at.
You're in the C's,
What
the
page
B's,
are you on?
B's, she's in the B's, bakery, bank.
Building material details is permitted, okay. I'm just seeing some where the ends, they look like they're together. Candy manufacturing. Don't take away from hearing. It's no, we could not have a candy shop that.
Well, manufacturing is different than shop.
Yeah, that was the planning commission's debate too, was their concern was a large scale manufacturing.
Wouldn't that go to
Concern.
manufacturing zone rather than commercial
That
factory?
should, and he's allowed in the manufacturing zone or food manufacturing, so,
Yeah.
and they want that large. They felt like the scale of, at least the word manufacturing was too big for this.
Then the next item is candy store confectionery. Could they have a back kitchen where they make some candy?
We do like fresh
Yeah,
made
fine.
fudge and things.
I believe the intent is to allow that, yeah.
Okay, could you write that in?
Yes, please.
Because candy manufacturing would imply you can't do that.
Oh, look at the next one down. Candy store confection.
That's what she's on.
Yeah,
It's permitted.
yeah, but it
She
doesn't, the thing above it, the prohibition of manufacturing implies that candy store could not also make their own chocolates.
Where do you draw that line?
Yeah.
So like, peanut
Let the market
bread.
decide, okay?
Well, okay,
At what point do they become these?
So,
right.
The character.
What time, at what point is it a manufacturing? Yeah.
and they.
Brian says, no, Brian has the right language on including on-site production, that's not a factory. And that clarifies the issue.
Let me change that.
That's
Maybe
really
other-
good.
About,
I like what you meant, Brian. Including on-site production.
production for
I
on-site.
mean, I guess the question is, are you looking at production simply for on-site sales and distribution, or are you going to allow production for distribution for off-site sales?
You want it mom
They
and
get
pop.
popular, they could sell
Yeah.
somewhere else, or are they now too big to fit this zone?
Well, and what if mom and pop have a convenience store? They're allowed to make stuff in the back. Does that mean they can never sell it anywhere else?
Yeah, because they can't ship it,
To Amazon? Yeah.
or ship it to Huntsville that doesn't want to drive over a
Or
mountain,
take it over to the store.
so they can only sell on site.
I would just make it with an on-site. Including on-site production. Okay. As we go through this. Oh, car wash manual spray, is that no? Yeah.
So they eliminated manual sprays but allowed automatic car washes.
I don't understand, our car washes all over here do both.
Yeah, they're combined.
What was the rationale, Brian?
I believe it was, well, I'll be honest, I'm not sure, there was a whole lot of, conversation about it, my gut feeling is that it was probably an aesthetic choice. They felt like having the open bays was not conducive to the pedestrian oriented environment that they wanted to create.
They're already is anyway. Whether it's automatic and.
Yeah,
We already
There
have.
there wasn't a lot of discussion on.
okay, I would,
Someone's gotta be committed in.
Could we just do car wash? Does it have to specify automatic or manual spray? Can we just say car wash is permitted?
Yeah.
okay,
That's what I would do.
okay, next one.
We're at 11:57
Okay.
and we're on the seats.
I'm gonna have to table this.
Mm-hmm.
I've gotta be out by 12:15.
Now we just roll out one or two of those.
Okay, we need to take a look, we're running out of
We're
time.
gonna call this, to table, if I can get a motion to table.
I move we table ordinance. 26, 29, Commercial Valley Two.
Second.
I got a motion to table from Hickman and a second from Booth. Councilmember.
Bye.
Councilmember Dan Baker.
Aye.
Councilmember Hogan.
Aye.
Booth. Booth.
Aye.
Hickman.
Yes, hi.
Alright, ordinance 29 is tabled. I think we can go ahead and agree the roll, like just a full call vote to table BBR one, the remaining item, there's no time to get into that. I'll say you,
Table it.
yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Table as well, lack of time. This moves us into agenda item 15, council comments. I'll start with the order reading from District 1.
Just a quick, no, Dyer's Road, the extended Shaw family went out and cleaned the campground and fields that are around there, so. That was done in District 1, you asked us.
Yes, I did, thank you very much.
Good for you.
Anything else? Your town hall coming up.
I have a town hall coming up June 10th, yes. At Hardside at 6 o'clock.
District 2. Councilmember.
Only item I would have is finance.
I was gonna say.
Okay, I will pass.
Report.
Yes, the only thing I have is from a new business owner. Finding Jim would like to do an official opening with the city. That's,
Business after hours.
what's that?
Business after hours.
You got ribbon cutting thing.
Yeah.
Ribbon cutting.
Yeah. Yeah, I reached out to them, they're excited about it, and I think it's gonna be really cool, one thing, about a state park in there with it. Tentatively June 5th, but he said that's not for sure.
Do you wanna connect them with Councilmember Jenny Baker, because I believe she's in charge of, is it called community? Activation or
Community engagement.
Engagement.
Yeah, with it being the first thing, I'm not, first one we've done, I'm
Yeah.
not sure exactly.
That's why I've been like, maybe that's where that goes, I'm not sure. Okay, anything else?
No.
Hickman?
on the whole Dyer's vote thing, there's an article coming out in the paper, but remind people who call you. You can still call Weber County. Weber County weed control can do an inspection of and enforce the issue. And Weber County weeds will go, when it's gross violation, go and spray and charge the property owner. But onesie twosies are not what they're gonna do. Hundreds of them or tens of them is what they're gonna do.
I'm gonna add to that, so I've got a couple things to bring out that are important for the public to know. Number one, I'm just gonna reiterate the Dyer's vote. I also drove around the valley. I wanna emphasize how amazing the county weed control website is.
Yeah.
The application makes it so simple. You don't even have to give your name. It's optional. You can park a car, this is how I did it. I drove around the valley, looked for huge fields of it. Parked my car right in front of it. I dropped a pin on their site. I clicked that it's Dyer's vote. I even took pictures so that they could see how large of a field it is. And then boom, send it off. It goes straight to Bart over there for them to decide if they're gonna. But you can go around and it's super easy. You don't have to know anything. You just drop it, snap a photo, and send it back. So I really advise people to take advantage of that incredible site. The other thing I want to bring up, our tax entity status and our financial situation. That is going to be the main focus of our next special session, which I believe will be Friday of next week. However, I literally just put an article in the paper updating everyone to be very clear that we are not a tax entity status and we will not be going through truth in taxation, because I wanted to give the latest update compared to the previous mayor's message in the 2 weeks ago article. And then as of, was it last
10
night?
o'clock last week.
As of last night, our incredibly brilliant attorney / council member Hoagland, who went down rabbit hole after rabbit hole of state code, has found a very viable argument for us to still become a taxing entity. So while my article is beautiful and valid, it is outdated as of 10 o'clock last night. And so it will be a conversation we will be having going forward. We will, until we figure out the extent that we can pursue this, go back to going into all the procedures of truth and taxation, because we would not want to get our argument agreed to and then having not done the procedure. So we're gonna go back to just being overly cautious, go through truth and taxation procedures, as well as what happens if we can't raise our taxes, and fight the good fight. So the fight is on again, everybody, which is very exciting. All right, and that was that update.
I may want to say also, assuming we're gonna go through truth and taxation, available for the public is the impact statements.
Those are still available. Copies are in the office. We will be putting them back on the table because we are now going back into that. And we are going to be able to get this stuff up on the website. It isn't there right now, but we will be working on it.
Amen.
All right. Motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Second. I got a motion to adjourn from Hoagland and a second from Shaw. It is 12:04. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 0.